Good morning, Raptor Freaks. Alexios here. Sunday, and we do Sunday special reports on Sunday, where we kind of do more serious kind of streams about like big topics that have to do with like basketball and the NBA. And we'll do things on the refs. We'll do things on like different, big subjects. And today we're talking about politics and sports. And it's really because the other day we saw Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, with Masai Ujiri, talking to the public about gun safety. And I went and looked at the posts on Twitter and different places, and the comments were crazy. A lot of those comments are generated automatically by bots to try and like influence perception and influence about like subjects. But some of those were actually real people too. And it's kind of really funny to see people say, well, I'm not watching the Raptors anymore because y'all went woke. Well, when did they go woke? They've been woke all along. And if you've been a Raptors fan this long and haven't realized that, well, you just woke up and understanding that. So I really want to talk about when people are critical of people for speaking their mind politically, if they're a famous person in music or sports, that, a long time ago, the Dixie Chicks had some very important things to say about the war in Iraq and George W. Bush. And the country music art fans turned on them and said, oh, no, screw you. You should just sing and stop talking politics. That this is something that an argument like shut up and play. Shut up, Colin Kaepernick. Get up off your knee and get out there and play. Shut up, NBA, and stop putting messaging on the back of your jerseys and stuff like that. It's a really weird thing because listen, first of all, this has been something that has been in the sports and famous people and people that are leaders and people that are out there and known have a certain power because they have influence. And I'd much rather somebody have the influence of like making the world a better place as far as like putting out views and trying to be a role model in different ways to be in a good example for other people than like being an influencer like on Instagram, like you should buy these products or this is how you can look this or this. Influence is there no matter what. And some people choose to wield it and use it in a responsible way to try and help be a leader in a society. And this is just something that's always happened. You cannot take this out of that, because people just inherently are political or have beliefs that they personally hold. If Muhammad Ali was not Muhammad Ali, and he was Cassius Clay his whole entire life, there'd be a lot different world in some ways. There would be apartheid still in South Africa if we did not mix politics with sports. In fact, the freezing out of that country in sporting competitions very much heavily influenced the government of South Africa to end apartheid. And that is a huge change and a huge good thing. Not to mention all the musical artists making music and talking about boycotting Sun City and parts of and the country of South Africa while apartheid was going on. These people can have dramatic change. And that is why the powers that be, some of the powers that are out there, want people to shut up and play because they know that they can change things, change the status quo, and make good things happen. The Raptors are unapologetically woke, and woke is not a bad thing. And the war on woke right now is so dumb. In fact, they've figured out it's so dumb from the other side. Donald Trump is trying to rebrand the word at this point. He's rejecting it, and he's telling everybody stop using it on the other side because they realize they look like idiots when they talk about how they're anti-woke. Because whenever somebody figures out what woke means, they're like, wait, that's good. And like, that's not bad at all. And then they realize they're idiots. So it's very interesting time and period in life right now. And what I'm saying right now is in some ways, our society does not have good leadership in politics at this point. Everybody is corrupt. They're all corrupt. All those politicians corrupt. I don't care which side they're on. I know Justin Trudeau's in the pocket of corporations. It pisses me off. But I also know that he is working towards good social reforms in certain ways. And, not everybody is perfect. And at least he's better than the other side and some of the things that they might do. But yes, I understand Justin very much is a corporate puppet. And that doesn't make me happy. So what I'm saying is, in some ways, society needs better leaders from other areas of the world, other things like music and sports, because the leaders in politics suck. They're all in the hands of big money. So in some ways, we look to leaders like Bono of U2 or Colin Kaepernick of the San Francisco 49ers at that time, because in some ways they are more effective leaders because they don't have a thing in the pocket for that. They just want to change the world for the better. So anybody who says shut up and play, I don't agree with you, because these people have a great platform, they have heavy influence, and they make change. And we need change in all kinds of different ways. This thing that they got to that podium about on the other day with Masai and Justin is so important right now. So important. Another incident happened in Florida just in the last 2 days. Somebody drove into somebody's backyard. I mean, not in their backyard, into their driveway to turn around. You know how sometimes you make the wrong turn and you just want to pull into somebody's driveway and pull back out and turn around? Well, somebody happened to do that in Florida. And as soon as they pulled in the driveway, motherfucker can ran out with a gun trying to come at them like you want to shoot them just for pulling in and pulling out to turn around in their driveway. It's getting to be a crazier and crazier world, and we need better leadership all around, and now more than ever. And in some ways, a leader like Masai Ujiri is a better leader than Justin Trudeau, because he is like, listen, what is he doing? He doesn't have to do this. He doesn't have to do Giants Africa. He doesn't have to do the thing that he did with Justin the other day. So he comes from a pure place, a place where it's like, look, we want to show that we care about the community, we care about our fans, and we want to make a safer community for everyone out there by fighting gun violence. So listen, anybody who says like, look, I don't want politics mixed in with my music, I don't want politics mixed in with my sports, that's fine. You can be that way, but realize it just inherently is there. And in some ways, when you're saying don't do that, well, you're being controlling, and you're also anti-freedom, because it's if we're talking about things in life, like whether it's trans, whether it's guns, whether it's speaking out politically, the freedom to do it is what's the most important. You don't like trans? Sure, I will fight for your right to have the freedom to talk about that, but I will fight for the right for people to be trans also, on the same token, because it all comes down to freedom, and it comes down to stop trying to control other people. If you want to do this with your life and do it this way, then do it. But if you want to go and tell everybody else to do it the same way that you do it, then you're fucking wrong right there. And that's the biggest problem. Too many people are overstepping and trying to do this and trying to do that. Now, listen, I understand. Gary Trent Sr. posted something on his Instagram the other day where he said parent today, and he has like an umbrella and a child in the bed, and he's shielding it from the rainbow flag. Well, that's his choice in his life. If he wants to shield his younger sons from LGBTQ and trans stuff like that, that's his right. But that doesn't mean that trans people shouldn't exist. That doesn't mean that trans shouldn't be out there and in the world. That's taking away freedom. And that's what I'm saying. You want the freedom not to have it? You want the freedom to have it? That's what we're talking about. The freedom of choice for each and every one of us in each and every decision. Now, if you're anti-LGBTQ, well, go ahead, but it's like you're not going to be very popular. And maybe you can just keep that to yourself in your own personal life. You don't have to put it on blast or be aggressively against people who are fighting for the rights of those people. In some ways, right now, that whole war has to do with like, genocide in some ways. It's like people are trying to kill trans people or and come after them, hate them. There's all kinds of crazy stuff going on like that. And that is extremely bad and extremely wrong. So we've got to wonder, you got to think about what is actually weighing what is what and what is what. Because in the ultimate sense of everything, we just want to be free. We just want to be free to live our lives the way we choose to live them. If you choose you want to live this life this way, you go ahead. As long as you're not hurting anyone, breaking any serious laws or anything like that, then go right ahead. And let's stop trying to run everybody else's lives and tell them how to live their life. You don't like this, you don't like that, you like this, you like that, then live your life. But that's the biggest problem. People are overstepping way, way too much on what they, this and this. And I won't even say exactly. All right, let's see what you guys are saying and we'll get in the conversation. I don't know how long I'll go today. I just wanted to really talk about the whole idea of like, not having politics involved in sports is stupid. because it's a great platform and it is an important place for people to speak their minds. And you're going to censor people just because they make a lot of money playing a sport? No, they are people too, and they're very smart and they're very wise, a lot of them too, like Fred Van Vliet, and they're very learned. Fred studied sociology. He, in some ways, has a learned background to speak out politically on political subjects. The whole thing that happened in the bubble with the messaging, it was important because it kept that stuff out there for a whole summer. It kept the whole movement out there, and it helped it become more and more in the forefront and in people's faces to think about. It couldn't just be on a short 24-hour news cycle where CNN talks about Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter, and then they go away from it like for a week, or they go away from it afterwards. They talk about it for a week and then it goes away. No, they put it on blast for months so that it would sustain and it would take more. That this is really a serious message, that y'all stop killing young black men on the streets, cops, and you got to stop doing this and this. And this is an important thing. So, it is powerful. Muhammad Ali was powerful. Jesse Owens was powerful. Billie Jean King was powerful. And they had huge impacts in very important ways for society. So we can take everything I said about sports and apply it to musicians also in their concerts and music. Music is supposed to be political. Music is supposed to change the world. Punk rock was made to change the world. All that rock and roll was made to change the world. And a musician that writes political songs or writes messages in their songs about how they feel about things is much more using their craft than somebody who's just writing about their money, or they're bragging about themselves, or they're writing about superfluous love songs that have been written 1,000 times over. So I get mad at people that are like, why is everything so woke? Or why are people getting so political today? Because listen, if you're not political in today's world, in some ways, this is not good. You need to be political. We can't be apathetic. There are forces out there that are fighting to really mess up our society, and they really want to make it more authoritarian, more fascist, and try and control our freedoms. So if you're for freedom, let's be anti the people that are anti-freedom. I almost said anti-freedom. No, we want to be anti the people that are anti-freedom, and those are the people trying to tell us how to run our lives, telling us how to trying to control ourselves, or telling us to shut up. We have a right to speak. We all have a right to speak. We all have a right to have our own opinions. Now, if we're dumb and we're stupid or racist, yeah, you get a right to get slam dunk on and have the other people with their opinions come at you and tell you how you're wrong. Sure. But we all ultimately should be able to have our opinions. Freedom of speech. It is important. All right, let me see what y'all are saying. Dana's here first again. Dana, good morning, everyone. Dana's like the official good morning person right now. I love it. Good morning to you, Dana. I hope you're having a pleasant Sunday this morning. And, I know this is a serious subject, but it's something that I wanted to talk about because the backlash towards Masai and the Raptors for doing that press conference with Justin is silly. It's silly. Come on, y'all. I know some people hate Justin, and that may be why they're mad. But don't get mad at the Raptors for trying to help the community to stop gun violence. That's a good thing. Seriously, isn't that a good thing? I mean, come on. All right, Trevor's here. Good to see Trevor J, one of my favorite Raptor freaks. Just awesome dude, Trevor. Good morning, everyone. Show some love today. And just remember, before you speak and open your mouth, your words have power in it. So once you put it out there, the universe, you cannot take it back. Ooh, man. And that's so true for me, Trevor, because I'm recorded and it goes on internet and it sits on YouTube. I might have to go back and put my catalog in maybe at some point to get access to it, you have to be a subscriber or something like that. I don't know. It's all there for free right now. But you're right. And especially me. I'm going to say stuff all the time. I'm recorded. Well, they're going to have that on evidence. Oh, the Raptors freak said this on January the 15th of 2021 or they have receipts on me. I don't care. Listen, I speak freely, free my mind. If I get in trouble with my voice, well, that is just how it is. I got to be me. And I realized early on, started to do this channel, some people, I'm just not going to be their cup of tea. And some people, I will be their cup of tea. And that's all. I don't really care. Like, I cannot not be political. It's just who I am. I always have been. Since I was a little kid, I was very political. Even as a little kid growing up in the South, I was very, very anti-racist. And I grew up with people that were very racist in my schools. In fact, I told this story recently to my parents. I was in home ec class in like the 7th grade, and I was with my best friend, Patrick. And I've been friends with him since like the mid 80s. We got Nintendos together. When Nintendo came out with Super Mario Brothers 3, 2, and all that, we were playing Nintendo, staying over at each other's houses. We go to wrestling matches together. And one day, we're sitting in the home ec class, and an African American gentleman came into the classroom and talked to the teacher for a second and then left. And then he came back again and he talked to our teacher. Our teacher was an elderly woman named Mrs. Malloy. And this is what Patrick turned to me and said. He said, that N-word came back for more money. And when he said that to me, I had never spoke to him ever again. I had not realized that he was that racist. And I'm telling you, I was only like 10 or something like that. I was not that old. And I never spoke to him again. I cut him out of my life. So that's what I'm saying. You have your own choices, and you have your own beliefs system. And if they don't jive up with people, that's what I'm saying. They don't like the platform of us politicizing and talking about issues. Well, they're doing it in their own lives. That's how they make more racist. A racist parent makes a racist child. And that's what I'm saying. If you want the political awareness and knowledge and people being intelligent, well, you need to share what's right and wrong and stop them from grooming them into being racist. Everybody this month's talking about this is groomer month for pride and like trans and all this stuff. You can talk to your children and tell them the truth and let them decide if they want. But if you're really so scared that they're going to turn trans or gay or something like that, totally shield them. That may give them more of a chance of turning that way when they find that out about that kind of stuff. I don't know. I would just be honest with them and tell them the truth. And, it's hard because they're little kids. I get it, but it's such a weird situation. But in some ways, grooming that way is just the same as grooming kids into gun culture, grooming kids into racist culture. So people talking about groomers right now, they're crazy. All right, let's keep going. Tom Duke saying to all the science teachers, everybody, I apologize, Irvin said. And with that, Irvin made clear that he regrets publicly stating that the earth is flat. Tom Duke with a great first quote today. Good morning to you, Tom Duke. I hope the weather's good out there in Victoria, British Columbia. And out there for the women's basketball games. Team Canada women's basketball is going on out there right now. And Nav Bhatia is out there, the super fan also. I love that quote. And that I'm sure that's the real quote when Kyrie came around and got educated about his flat earth theories. That's fantastic stuff, Tom. Thank you for being here this morning. Bradley's here, Canadian Cowboy. Good morning, Lex and Raptor Freaks. Bam. Good to see you, Bradley, as always. Happy Sunday. I know you're on your day off and you get to interact with us. I love that when you're here. Mike is here, Logical Raptors fanatic, dropping a great piece of content yesterday on Chris Boucher, mixing and matching his end of season interview with his Hustle Play podcast at the end. And Mike, really, you know what happens when I watch your clips recently? I really see more that I didn't see the first time I saw that stuff. Like you know what? There was more in about like the whole changes and things that are going on with the Raptors right now that were illuminated from the way you broke it down and you made commentary on what Chris was saying. So y'all, if you really want more answers about what the fuck happened with the Raptors season this past year, check out Mike's channel from yesterday, Logical Raptors Fanatic. He really, really looks at what Chris said at the end of the season. He said the most out of all the Raptors, and he really illuminates why we had problems this year on our team. So definitely give him a subscribe, a like, and a watch. Really good stuff, Mike. Really proud of you, man. You're killing it right now. All right, let's see. He's saying, salute the real ones, Project Truth. I don't know. There's an underground swell of fans displeased with Messiah at the moment. It's odd how people need one person to blame versus accounting the mistakes to more than one person. Listen, Mike, I'm telling you, I'm on damage control right now, and you should be too. Monique, every one of us, we need to be on damage control because there are forces that are literally trying to burn our franchise to the ground right now. We have now lost our Coach of the Year champion coach through collusion and really crazy, weird agency like advice and weird stuff going on. Now they're trying to come at Masai. They need to realize that they had to fire Nick. This is the biggest argument everybody's making because they don't like seeing Nick in Philadelphia all of a sudden, and they feel like we lost something. This is the problem with a lot of basic beginner Raptor fans that really look at things in dumb ways and not very intelligent. They just go 1 + 1 = 2. And they figure because we lost Nick, it's totally Masai's fault. That's not the truth. That's Nick's fault why we lost him. And Masai is doing damage control right now as we are doing damage control for him. So please, Raptor freaks, fight the good fight for Masai right now. There's going to be a lot of people putting stupid shit on his name right now, and they're wrong. It is not him. He's not the problem. People saying he's washed, people saying he needs to be fired. That could be Ted Rogers III. That could be hockey people. That could be Americans. That could be people in other fan nations like, the Celtics coming in and saying that shit because they absolutely want to tear us all the way down to the ground and put us all the way back to nothing. Masai Ujiri is essential and integral to this team, and y'all need to stop coming after him. Raptors fans, you're not fans if you're after Masai right now. I'm going to tell you that right now because we cannot afford to lose any more good people right now, okay? So just chill the F out. You're pissing me off. And anybody who's anti-Masai right now or talking about how Masai needs to leave, you are so sadly wrong. And if you get what you want, I'm going to be pissed at all y'all for a long, long time. Seriously. Because the difference between the Raptors and the Leafs is Masai Ujiri. And we need to keep him. Just trust me. So everybody shut the out about Masai. In fact, Mike, make some pieces standing up for Masai, please. That's Project Truth full effect right now that we need right now. Is because everybody's saying, oh, he's been mid, he's been this. Well, how do you gauge what his job is? How do you gauge the success rate? What is the good batting percentage like for a GM and their decisions? What is a good batting percentage? Can we go take every single GM from the last 10 years and take their whole body of work? Well, how many of them were fired during that 10 years from being idiots? How many of them had how many successes? GMs sometimes don't get a lot of successes very often. In fact, they whiff and they miss way often than they hit. And if you look at Masai Ujiri's hit record in percentage-wise overall, he is way above the rest of the league. He's above average GM, and he makes good decisions on the whole. So maybe he has a stinker here and there, or maybe you think, oh, he didn't do enough. You make up your own bullshit in your head about Jakob Poeltl coming here in the trade deadline. It was a good move. And the real people that know basketball, the insiders, the people that are professionals in the media, the people that are in the league that play, the executives, they know Jakob Poeltl coming back to Toronto was a good move. And it's just casuals, amateurs, and armchair quarterbacks that think they fucking know that was a horrible move at deadline. That was not. We got our center that we've been crying out for a couple years. Now we got to nail him down for sure this summer. But y'all wanted a center for so long. We finally get a center. Y'all aren't even happy about that. So just shut up. Seriously, if Masai Ujiri loses his job because of noise from stupid idiots in Raptors Nation, I'm going to be so pissed off at y'all. Seriously, the people who are anti-Masai, you're going to get it from me. I'll go off on this channel and cuss you so far down the street. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, all right, let's keep going. Nameless is saying, see, this is why we get along so well, Brother Lex. Bam. 1,000%. That nobody will say. Listen, I don't have any skin in this game. I'm not worried about losing a contract. I'm not worried about a corporation firing me. I'm not worried about any of that. I can say exactly what I want to say because all I care about is just being me, 100% me. I don't care if I'm not walking tightrope around something. No, I'll be unapologetically, authentically me and how I feel about things. And, the right for me to say this in the morning, well, I really appreciate it and stuff like that. So, listen, you don't have to line up with me exactly politically. In fact, I like people that don't totally line up with me because we have very rich discussions, sometimes not in agreement, but it's always trying to be civil and just kind of like both learning experiences for both sides. So it's just it's just how it should be. People need freedom. This is what a world should be about: is freedom. When you're banning books, you're banning abortion, you're taking freedoms away. When you're banning people from being able to speak out about things, you're taking freedoms away. And this society should be about being more and more free and not about clinching down and taking freedoms away as we progress in society. That's not progression. That's turning into a penal colony. That's turning into a prison society where they shrink and shrink and shrink and take more of your rights away. No, screw that. We all want freedom. We want the freedom to express ourselves, freedom to be who we are and who we want to be. That's what we want. Yeah, Cowboys saying Lex for mayor. Listen, I endorse Olivia Chow. In fact, listen, this is a very political stream today. If you get this in the mail, this is the my voting sheet. You're going to get this in the mail very soon if you live in Toronto, and this is for the mayor vote. You need to take this seriously and go to your polling place when the day to vote is coming, because this is your best way to make change is to vote for a representative for the city, and right now it's now more important than ever. The city of Toronto is in disarray and it's messed up. It's unlivable. Rents are crazy. There's like all kinds of issues in the city. We've had bad leadership in the city for a while. We have bad leadership in the province also. So we need to do things to change that. You got to elect somebody who will do better things for us. I fully endorse Olivia Chow. I am an NDP. I won't hide that. I'm not a liberal, and I'm not definitely not a PC. So I endorse Olivia Chow for mayor in Toronto. But you vote for who you want. There's a lot of candidates. There's like 100 of them. But make sure when you get that notice in the mail that you do go and vote. Don't be apathetic. Don't act like this doesn't matter. It does. And really, everybody should be voting, because you're not represented if you're not voting. That's just how it is. Fun Guy saying, unfortunately, let's see what Fun Guy's saying. Unfortunately, BEO. I don't know, BO. Unfortunately, BO. All right, no, MSJ saying, Lex, all I can say about the USA is that all the chickens have come to roost. All the endless wars have cracked the American psyche. The rest of the world is getting better. It's the USA going nuts. Man, you know what? I can't disagree with this in some ways, MSJ. But this is the thing. We have a lot of things we're going to have to deal with very, very soon in this world that we need to get proactive about. Like the climate change stuff is serious. What's going to happen is it's going to be harder to grow food in certain areas of the world more and more. There's going to be more migration because people can't feed themselves or take care of themselves. So migration policies are going to be important. And in some ways, we need to have a sound policy that is right and just and humanitarian. And but it's going to be a really weird world, because in some ways we're going to have to do some damage at control. There's a lot of things that are going to get harder for us. We have it easy in some ways, but this world could get a lot more difficult soon. And we need to be ready for that. The most important thing we need to do is stay humanitarian and stay within love instead of hate, and stop theming them. We're all us. There's no them. And this is so important. Every single person in this world is connected as humans. And they try and divide us down all kinds of lines: rich, poor, black, white, this country, that country, whatever. We are all the same, and we need to be looking out for all of us all together. A society is only judged by how they treat their old and their poor and they're sick. And if you're treating your poor and you're sick and you're old poorly, then you're a shitty society. Let's just put it that way. So yeah, we'll have to see what happens down south. There's certain states turning very fascist right now, like Florida, and there's going to be people like moving from state to state, because in some ways there's people that aren't welcome in their own state they've lived in their whole entire life. All of a sudden they're realizing they're not welcome there because they may be a certain persuasion or certain thing going on in their life, like trans. So there's going to be an interesting migration in the United States between blue and red states, where a lot of red states are going to lose people going to blue states, and maybe a little bit of vice versa, but probably not. And the thing that they're going to find is there's going to be an economic and brain drain from those red states, because a lot of the smart people will leave, and also the big companies will leave. Like Disney was going to do a big project in Florida. Now they backed out. It could have meant thousands of jobs and billions of dollars of money for Florida. Well, that's what happens. You fuck around, you find out. You play stupid games, you get stupid results, Ron DeSantis. So this is the thing I fully predict. As they get more and more fascist with laws and trying to stop people, they have a law in Florida now that if you're a trans kid, the police can legally come to your house and take your parents and put you in jail. That's the kind of stuff we're going on. People don't realize we're in Nazi Germany in Florida at this point. That you just substitute the word trans for Jew, and then boom, you've all of a sudden got the same playbook that Hitler used on Jewish people to rally up fascism in Nazi Germany 100 years ago. It's the same damn thing. Trump is doing the same thing. DeSantis with the word trans. You can substitute if you want. You can. It's exact same playbook. Seriously. All right, let's keep going. Nameless saying agreed. There's tons of things that exist in this world that I choose not to engage in. Tons. See, that's the right. That's the right. Listen, I get it. Some people are not into trans or this or that, but why should you be able to tell them they can't exist? Why should you be able to tell them that they don't aren't an equal person in society as you are? That's the thing. Just, if you don't want to have anything to do with it in your life or you don't want that, that's your choice. But you should not have the choice to say that somebody shouldn't exist. That's just the big problem right there. Guardian Transit saying, you are who you are. That's right. I just don't want it pushed down my neck. Yeah. Do not want it pushed on my grandchildren in school. The advertising campaigns need to stop. I mean, I get that in some ways. I really do get that. This month is difficult for parents. And I don't not know for myself, because I don't have any kids myself, how they navigate this kind of stuff. If I was a parent, I would be very open and honest with my kids in the way that it would be like where, I'd explain it to them as best as I could at an age appropriate time. But that is all kind of stuff I have no idea how I would deal with, like with that. But also at the same time, I'm not saying that this shouldn't happen or that kind of advertising, because in some ways, these people need more support than ever. Like I said, these people in some places in the world are hunted and murdered by people. And that's not right. That really isn't right. And in some ways, they're more inflamed against these people and coming after them. So it's a really delicate situation, and I get it. But if you're a parent, you can make up a lie and say, "Oh, that's just a pretty rainbow flag" or something like that. Or there's all kinds of ways you can make it okay with little kids, but not like everybody feels like they're getting indoctrinated or grooming. Listen, this is the other thing about it. All this stuff with trans and different things like that has always been here. In fact, this is a part of history. It's not like it's a new thing. It's not like it's something that just appeared all of a sudden, drag shows and like transitioning people or people that are kind of in the middle of gender or like kind of like both genders. This has always been here. In fact, in a lot of cultures and civilizations, people that were both genders and kind of were like shaman and were very important to tribes back in the day. So it's a different weird thing. Like, it's a very strange kind of thing, and it's delicate to kind of handle, but we got to realize this isn't new. And in some ways, what they're doing right now is they're trying to elevate these people to equal level with all of us, just like black people wanted equality from slavery and civil rights movement, just like everybody wants to get their movement. This is partly what this is that we need to see them as equals and as people that are part of society that are valid and important just as everybody else. And in some ways they may overgo step and say, like, we're here and we get used to it. But that it's important. It's important because in some ways they've been maligned and they've been hunted, and that's not good. And in some ways it's getting worse in some places. But I totally get it. I couldn't understand what it would be like to be a parent and have to navigate those kind of things with your child. It's not simple, I'm sure. It's not simple at all. Logical saying Messiah has some blame for the roster depth this year, but you got to weigh benefits versus mistakes and understand no one is perfect and judge the person fairly and not look at one time as the only thing. Yeah, he has so many home runs. Like some GMs in this world would wish that they could get just one of his huge home runs in their entire career. That Kawhi move would be like a make somebody's career forever. As much as everyone wants to say, we love Nick for giving us a championship and why we're so upset that he's gone, you should be saying the same damn thing about Masai, that the Kawhi move was such a genius gamble that it really paid off. Like that, it really is Masai Ujiri right there. And like, seriously, that to me makes him for his whole career. Y'all need to just be quiet. Stop being, what have you done for me lately with him? He's done a lot. It's just that y'all aren't very educated with your eyesight on seeing what GMs do and just how successful he is. Watch, this coaching hire is going to be a home run, grand slam, a 4-run hit. And you guys are going to be like, holy crap, Rob Street was right. Look at this badass coach that Masai just brought in. So I know it's none of y'all. I'm not talking to y'all. I'm talking about the casuals, the ones that just kind of half-ass watch the Raptors, who think Masai Ujiri is a problem right now. You're idiots. You really don't know what you're talking about. Mike, please defend Masai, please. Monique is here. Good to see Superfan Monique. Good morning, everyone. Lex for making that clear about Scoot. Scott, Raptors fan, shaking my fucking head, I swear. Listen, y'all, there was a scam yesterday, and this is something I got to talk about too, is Twitter is not reliable anymore. Twitter has a fake AOC account that is flirting with Elon, and Elon is like acting like it's real. Well, it's very gross and messed up. And what's going to happen is Twitter is going to be completely not reputable at this point. Like the only way you can use Twitter at this point is don't listen to anybody except for a very verified, credible source like Adrian Wojnarowski, Shams, or Josh Lewenberg, Blake Murphy, Michael Grange. You can look at those accounts and get facts and make sure it's the real account, because in some ways they may make duplicates that look like the real account that aren't. Well, yesterday somebody did a Photoshop job of the workout with Scoot Henderson in Portland and fooled Monique and for a second me, that he came and worked out for the Raptors. They basically blocked out all the Trailblazers stuff and they put a Raptors writing across his chest. And they said Scoot Henderson worked out for the Raptors at OVO Center today. Well, earlier in the day, Scoot Henderson said, I'm only working out for two teams, the Charlotte Hornets and the Portland Trailblazers. And I said, well, is he being a liar? Because there's a picture here of him and the Raptors. And I looked at that picture closer, and they had whited out the logo of the Blazers on the wall. The two people in the picture with Scoot are not Raptors personnel that I have ever recognized. And then if you look real close, the writing of Raptors across his jersey, it looks photoshopped and put in. But it fooled Monique right away, and she posted in our Facebook chat. And I was just like, there's something not right about this. Either Scoot's a liar, or let me look at this picture a little bit better. So that's a really good example of how we can't trust anything on Twitter anymore at this point. In fact, some people are predicting in the next election cycle, Twitter will be useless after the election's over, because everybody's going to realize exactly just how full of shit it is and how full of lies, that nobody will look at it as a reputable site anymore. It's already lost 2/3 of its value since Elon bought it, and it's going to only go down the tubes. So in fact, when the next election cycle finishes or near it, I will bet you money Twitter may not be operational. It may actually be going the way of the dodo, because everybody won't find use in it anymore, because they will see that it has nothing that's really like truthful on it anymore. It's all just bullshit on there at this point. So many fake accounts, so much Photoshop jobs, so much lies just perpetrated on that site. All kinds of bad stuff. Good job with Elon burning down the house of Twitter. Yeah, they're already trying to make new sites that are just like Twitter by another company. So there will be an alternative coming out soon, and everybody, I'm sure, will jump away from Twitter and they will go to that real verified site that's doing things legally. In fact, it's so stupid he messed up the checkmark system on Twitter, because it's going to be the ultimate end of it. Watch, it will be. Yeah, let's see. Let's see. La 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 la. Nameless Sam. Remember, people, this world is for everybody, not just you. That's right. And everybody has a different view of the world, and a different place, and a different personality. And it's just we got to be more accepting of each other and allow each other the freedom to live our own lives. And it is whatever you choose in certain ways and stuff. Let's see. Masai saying Masai is a leader. Economic growth in Africa is going to have a legit basketball league soon, but politics and sexuality should be put out of sports. Politics is caustic, a fire in the mind, as Billington wrote. It's an interesting thing. I mean, in some ways, it's necessary. It's a necessary evil for society. But also, at the same point, it's like it helps shape our future, and it's important. Now, one thing I will say about people that are anti woke or anti progressive, you're all going to lose ultimately in the end, no matter what. So it's really kind of the thing is like, go ahead and get in the car with us and ride with us, or we'll just drag you behind, like, on the street, and you'll get hit and hurt by every bump in the road as we drag you along. Because no matter what happens, the world progresses. Progressiveness will happen no matter what. The youth of the children coming up with the new ideas and ideals will come up and supplant the old people with the old thoughts that they die off. So that's what I'm saying. Either you come along with us or you come along with us against your will and you will be like beat up on the way. It's just how it is. We can't stop it. It's the way of the world. Progress will happen. Time changes, people change, people get more smart, people get more intelligent, they get more aware, and then boom, we have advances. We have a more accepting society. So that's my only warning to people that are very much anti-progressive. Well, progress is going to happen no matter what. It's just how it is. You can see how things have changed since the 60s with the civil rights movement. Things have gotten better in certain ways and it continues to get better, but it's not perfect. We still have a lot of work to do. But that's what I'm saying. Progress will happen on all these, whether we like it or not. And it's not up to us as the individual. We're not the king of the world where we say, well, this is just how it has to be because I want it. As much as Trump wishes he could have that, he will never have that. And that's the thing. Progress will happen. You either come with it, or you get dragged behind with it. It's going to happen either way. Let's keep going. Let's see. Fun guy saying, unfortunately, bro, that's not how things work. You can't be for everyone and everything. Things overlap and counter all the time. Can't be for freedom to be anti-trans and then freedom for trans. Yeah, you can. You actually can. It's a weird situation, fun guy. It's basically if you want to have those kind of views, keep them to yourself in a way. I would just say don't put a hate platform out there. That you can be hateful in your life and you should have that right to be hateful to a degree. Now, as long as you're not causing violence against anyone and that hate, as long as you're not being discriminatory against anyone because of that hate. But if you want to have a personal agenda to be hateful inside and feel it, you go ahead and live on your hate. But in some ways, it's freedom is the freedom of choice for everybody to exist, and that supersedes the freedom to hate somebody and be violent towards them. And that's the difference. But I can't tell somebody to love trans people. I can't tell somebody to not be anti-trans. If they have those set ways and that's just who they are, well, you can be that way. You should have that freedom, but maybe keep it to yourself. That's how I put it. Now, some people say the argument of the other way is like, well, then I don't want trans people pushing it on me. Well, we've got to understand there's certain things that are happening right now that are very bad. They're very, very bad. That's a marginalized community that is under attack. And that's part of the reason why this month is so important because we need to show there's a general support in Pride Month for people that are in that community because they are under attack and it's really awful. And there's bad stuff happening here in Toronto against trans people, just like there is down in Florida and different places too. So it's an important thing. I mean, it sounds like it can't be both, but it's really in each individual's own personal truth in their own lives. It's just that we don't need the propagation of more hate by having more anti-trans people having more platforms in some ways. That's the thing. They can do it in their own personal private life, whatever. That I would encourage them not to be because it's better to live a life of love instead of hate. But in some ways, they shouldn't be given a platform to push that hate either. So it's a delicate, and everything is not black and white. It's gray, and it really has to be taken on a case by case basis. Shir Khan saying, "Good morning, Raptor freaks. Great topic for today. Don't know much about the backlash, but who cares? People who don't support this cray is cray cray. When people show their true selves, believe him, try to preach the truth and move on." I really, my reaction to why I wanted to do this stream today really was the comments about the press conference with Justin Trudeau and Masai on Thursday. That them talking about the gun violence and stuff. It was crazy how negative a lot of the comments were. And I'm just like, listen, where have you been? If you're a Raptors fan, you didn't realize that like we're very political already. Like if you're leaving the Raptors because you feel like they're too political or too woke, good riddance. We don't want you as fans in our fan nation. Seriously, that's just how it is. It's like I get it. If you like the Raptors and you don't really like the politics stuff, well, just don't pay attention to it and still just like the Raptors. But don't tell the Raptors they can't speak out and have views on certain things. In some ways that's very daring because in some ways it's anti-capitalistic for them because if they turn off people because they're being so political, that's less money. In some ways I find that is so like authentic and real because they're not worried about the bottom line and being non-political. They're willing to be political and even lose some revenue because of it. There's a controversy right now with Chick-fil-A. This is hilarious. Chick-fil-A is not the most woke company. They've been very anti-gay and LGBTQ. And what's happened is that you know what the right is coming after them right now because they found out that they have like a division in their company that kind of takes care of like policies to be non-discriminatory to everybody. It's kind of like a corporate thing that a lot of corporations do right now, is to have a section on their website that's talking about how they're inclusive with everyone. And it's just really a political statement to be like woke in some ways. I shouldn't even use that word, but just to be opening, all encompassing to everyone. And people saw it and they see that they're like being LGBTQ inclusive on there because they have to do damage control because they have been bad in the past with donating money to anti-LGBTQ. Well, the right are now trying to cancel Chick-fil-A. And I think it's hilarious because honestly, they're one of the most right companies. And now the cancel culture is coming after them just because they have this department. The Bud Light thing's hilarious to me too. So there's a lot of interesting, really weird stuff with like cancel culture, wokeism, and different things and things that are happening right now with people deciding they don't want to do this. But there's also really real implications also. Like this weekend, there was bomb threats called into Kohl's. Kohl's is a chain. I think we do have them here in Canada, and they have Pride merchandise on sale in their stores. Well, the right wingers got all hateful people angst up and angry. Well, they call a Kohl's in Wisconsin and they say, "Hey, we're going to set a bomb off in your Kohl's because of the Pride merchandise you have going on." See, so this hate spawns terrorism. And that's what I'm saying is like there's steps and there's things you could go too far with. You have your beliefs, but don't go get in a car and like with a gun and try and shoot people or put a bomb off in a Kohl's. Let's like be reasonable here. It's crazy. Holy crap. All right, let's keep going. Nameless saying, I totally understand that, Lex. I know I wasn't racist at 4 years old. That's the thing. It's like we're not born racist. It really is values taught to you from your parents. And you can be that teenage rebellion stage where you see the light and you're like, that's part of the reason why kids are turning like trans or stuff like that. In some ways, it's like they hate their parents because they're so assholes. Maybe they're hateful, racist people, and they're like, you know what? I'm in my teenage rebellion stage. So I would warn parents to like, if you have something that you want to hide from your kids, they'll find it some point at some way. And it may be more dangerous for them to find it on their own than for you to actually sit down and explain it to them. So hiding the real world and the real world things out there is not necessarily a good idea. It's much better to be upfront with them and speak to them in a way because they may like get really rebellious and be like, yeah, my dad hates this so much, and then boom, all of a sudden that's part of it. You push them to it actually because you were so anti it. It's such a weird phenomena. It's just the teenage rebellion in kids. You want to feed it, go ahead and tell them they can't do it. It's just like putting a parental advisory sticker on a cassette tape or an album. Yeah, did that work? No, every kid wanted to go buy a Two Live Crew. It's just how it was. Oh my gosh. All right, let's keep going. Seymour saying, born and raised in Toronto, but now living in Calgary, I see what racism is. I never seen it in Toronto, at least not at this level. And the Calgary surge kicking tail. It's interesting when we have such a diverse community here in Toronto. There's racism here, sure, but in some ways, it's like there's so many different people and everything. We really are one, and we deal with it in a better way in some ways here in Toronto. But you go to other communities, and there may be a less percentage of minorities that you really see it a little bit more because people, maybe there's way more white people around and they can speak freely and be a little racist and not really feel like anybody's checking them because everybody's white here. Well, we could be racist here. And that's kind of the phenomena in a lot of places in Canada right now. I mean, Canada is a very racist country. Trust me, we are extremely racist here. And it's partly because there is such a predominantly white country. It really is. Like there aren't a lot of people of color in the rural areas around Canada. So racism really can fester and be normalized in these kind of communities because there's nobody checking them on whether they're racist or not. And I think that may be part of the phenomena that Seymour's found out in Alberta. Look at their leadership they just elected, and they're going to tell you a lot. Monique's saying, good topic today, Lex. People say the stupidest things. We support you. I know I say such stupid things all the time, Monique, but at least I know I'm doing it, and I'm doing it to like a beaver puppet or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, listen, it is what it is. I don't want to go too deep on this, and I don't want to turn anybody off. I'm very much for freedom. That's the bottom line with me. It's your life, live it, but realize that if you want to be a racist, if you want to be that kind of person, well, maybe you're going to get what you get. As far as like, you know what, we're not tolerating racism anymore as a whole in society. All right, let's see. Kareem saying, I'm watching NBA Film Room with Sam Mitchell and Earl Watson. Watson's film breakdown of the finals is amazing. I'm trying to understand why he isn't a heavily favored candidate to coach the Raptors. I was thinking about this too, Kareem, and thanks for changing the subject. Honestly, I don't mind mixing it up. In fact, we can maybe get away from the politics for most of the stream from now. I really said kind of what I wanted to say, but if anybody else wants to continue talking, it's fine. Yeah, I haven't seen this clip, but it keeps getting brought up. I think Earl was in the epicenter of the problems with this team this year. That part of the reason why he didn't come to New York was he may have done something really bad, that there were two people that did something bad. Maybe Nick and Earl were guilty. Maybe Nick, Nate, and Earl were all guilty of really causing problems. It could be that Earl, if they had chosen Earl, like maybe they wanted to, it would have really signaled like we're really like combative and like, we're picking a side. Because it could have very well been Nick and Nate versus Earl. And that was the whole conflict this year. And if he was really one of the primary people involved in the whole thing this year, well, that's probably why he's not being thought of in our coach's search. He's not getting any attention from any of the teams. I didn't see his name come up with anyone. His record with Phoenix was pretty bad, but a lot of it was Robert Sarver and what was the really ugly toxicness around the Suns at the time. And I don't know. I don't know what's going on with that. I mean, he does know his stuff. I'm gonna have to find that part, but it is very telling, Kareem, that Earl didn't get mentioned once. I don't think I heard him for any job, like let alone our job. He didn't get talked about for Phoenix. Well, obviously not for Phoenix. He wouldn't have get that Phoenix job. I don't know if he would have gone to Philadelphia. Maybe he could have coached Detroit. That could have been a job he could have gone and took. I don't know if he could. He could have taken Milwaukee too. Actually, that's really interesting though. But yeah, he's brilliant. Honestly, he's a smart guy. But I don't know what's going on with him. Sometimes things just don't line up for people in certain ways. I don't know. Nameless is saying, just so you know, racism is not real. It is an artificially created social construct used as a tool of control. Well, discrimination is real. Discrimination is real, and hate is real. I get it. I get this whole argument that people need to stop talking about color and race because it's just something made up to like divide us. But this is kind of a fallacy also. The colorblind argument from the right wing side is really stupid. I don't see color except for when I stab you in the back, behind your back, and like discriminate towards you or make policy, stuff like that. There's all kinds of ways that racists can be racist without being openly racist. They can do underhanded things behind the scenes, like not allow a mortgage through or not, hire someone. So it is there. And anybody who wants to say that, oh, we should just be colorblind and not look at color, that's actually bullshit. Because listen, there's a history of color very much being a factor in things that have happened. And we don't get this get out of jail free card, white people, just because of all this stuff. Race is still important. And it does distinguish a difference between pain bodies and ancestry and things that have happened to different people. So you can say, oh, well, that used to not be equal when there's slavery or this within indigenous people here. Well, these people have trauma in their bloodlines from the past, and there are still things that they're sorting out in their ancestry. And that's the thing. That's why there's a higher prevalence of alcoholism in indigenous populations in Canada, is because they're still coping from the pain from before. This is a very real thing. Pain body can be transferred through DNA from generation to generation. And the pain body is a very specific thing. It's something that's inside all of us that drives us to like do self-destructive things. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of the whole colorblind argument that we shouldn't see color, because color is important for distinguishing history and things that have happened. And it's reparations are important to a degree, if not monetary reparations, but social reparations. How about that? Social reparations are important. A fun guy saying, I wasn't for Sergio because of my perception of language barrier, but randomly got his interview video on my feed from 2019. His English is really fine. I'm very for him now. We can win with him. The dude just wins everywhere. Fun guy. I'm telling you, this dude just won like 2 days ago, and he's still winning. He's all he does is win, and that's what I'm saying. I'm really, really excited. I know the news is going to come in the next 48 hours. Oh man, if they hire a coach today, y'all, we need to celebrate. We'll have a great Monday moment tomorrow. Hopefully, it will be about the coach. I'm holding out my topic to hopefully be talking about a new head coach for the Raptors, either hired today or tomorrow. Yesterday, it's kind of a weird thing in the NBA. Have you noticed every single coach hire has happened on a different day? It's kind of like you don't want to overshadow the hire. So, like Vogel getting hired on Friday was kind of like his day. And like Nick getting hired earlier in the week, that was his day. Adrian got his own day last Saturday. Monty got his day this past week. Well, yesterday, I was like, will Toronto get their day in their coaching hire? And no, it was an assistant coach hiring day. Kevin Ollie going to the Nets to be the assistant coach for Jacques Vaughn. We saw that Kevin Young actually did stay with the Phoenix Suns because the Suns threw a $2 million contract at him for this year. He is the highest paid assistant coach. To save him from coming to Detroit with Monty, they overpaid him to keep him in Phoenix because he's the offensive coach for them, and Vogel will be the defensive coach. And all of Suns fans think they're going to be a good defensive team all of a sudden just because Vogel's there. Yeah, right. Some of it has to do with your players and whether they want to play defense. You got to get them to want to play defense before you get a good defense, Phoenix Suns fans. So just because Vogel's there doesn't mean they're going to turn into a defensive team. They're going to have to want it also. And then there were a couple other assistant coach hirings. Borrego, who was coaching Charlotte, is now assistant coach for Willie Green in New Orleans. So we'll see. Maybe there'll be more assistant coach news, or will there be finally the Toronto head coach hire? I'd like to see what happens with that. I'm all about Sergio, man. I'm all about Sergio. In fact, they revealed yesterday the three candidates are Sergio, Jordy, and Darko Rajakovic. Darko Rajakovic, an assistant coach for the Memphis Grizzlies, who we haven't really talked a whole lot about on this channel, but he may be someone we cover more in the next week. We'll have to see if we still don't have a coach by the end of this week. He may be the Thursday think tank, but we'll see. We'll see. I think we're going to hire somebody before that. Now, if I ranked who I think we're going to hire, I think Sergio is number one at this point, because why would they fly him on a red eye from Friday night back to Toronto to see us right after a game in Italy if they weren't really seriously considering him? And in some ways, because of his ties to our team already, he knows the environment. He knows everything about our team. He was with us for 2 years. He would be really comfortable fit. So I think that Sergio is the number one right now for probably getting hired. Jordy's the second. I don't think we can go wrong with either one of them, though. Let's see. G say Masai is the only GM in the entire league that has to deal with American players not coming to Toronto. A lot of this has to do with passport issues with their family and friends. However, the younger players seem more hip to coming here. Oh, yeah, I know. I agree with this. I mean, we do have some disadvantages. I think that it's very telling that our three top finalists for our coaching job are all Europeans right now. In some ways, the way Nick went to Philly really feels like a turncoat on Canada for the U.S. Maybe it's the red, white, and blue of the Philadelphia colors or something. I don't know. In some ways, it's like, I don't want to get stabbed in the back by another American coach. So let's hire a European coach instead. Maybe that's what Masai is thinking right now. I love seeing. All right, let's do our Instagram check real quick with the players, since G has brought up the young players in Toronto. Well, there's something to talk about with Scotty here. Scotty celebrating Jalen Suggs' birthday yesterday with really cute pictures of them when they're younger. As far as Scotty having braces, it's so hilarious. Like it's so funny seeing young Scott. And then last night, I guess he was at a really cool restaurant in town called Silent H, and he's standing in this really cool hallway. I told Scott he has the key to this city. Go enjoy all the beautiful, fantastic restaurants and just enjoy how just international and amazing Toronto is, dude. You can go anywhere and do whatever you want, bro. And he's enjoying a really classy, awesome restaurant last night. Scotty on his Instagram. Chris Boucher has got some guy dancing and getting down, so he's feeling good. So maybe he knows something we don't know. Maybe he knows who our next coach is. Pascal continuing the barrage of practice pictures and very, very much always in Raptors gear. This man is a company man. We know this man is our franchise player, and he is showing the work. He's showing the dedication. He's showing all the kind of posts where he is putting in work, and he's looking like he's in really good shape right now. Really, really good shape. Now Thad Young's got a professional clip of Taylor Young. Really, really cool to see all this stuff with him and his sons this summer from working out and all that stuff. Let's see what else. Rico Hines, very much, as we said, he was at the CEBL game the other night for Scarborough. Scarborough playing Winnipeg, and Winnipeg winning a close game. Very, very cool stuff. All right, yeah, just a real quick on Instagram check. There wasn't a whole lot from them at this point right now. There's a pretty quiet day for them on there. All right, let's see. Nameless is saying there's zero merit to race. In fact, history was rewritten to change your perceptions of those hailing from those parts of the world. That's an interesting theory. I don't know. Maybe we're not looking at this exactly the same way, Nameless. We may not be actually looking at it in the same aspect. I'm just saying that people that want to poo-poo that like there's no such thing as race sometimes just want a free get out pass on like looking back at the history of things. This is actually not true in some ways. There is very much a real history of different races exploiting other races in different ways that weren't right. This has been a way of civilizations in the world, and other times it was not good in all kinds of different ways. I get it. Indigenous groups here in North America enslaved other indigenous groups. The same thing happened in Africa. But there's still, you got to understand the benefits of exploiting the continent of Africa is what the wealth of Europe was built on. And that a lot of like the wealth in the world was from extracting and stealing from other countries. They're still kind of trying to get it out of the mud as far as what they're doing economically there. So, Nameless, I'm not totally sure what you're saying. It may be semantics. I'm not going to disagree with you because I don't exactly understand your point totally. But you can't say that race does not exist. Race is something that's real in some ways. It really is. Really is. Mike is saying Masai had to build the cupboards up again and continue to develop the assets we had, building value back in a roster that aged out. Yeah, directionless, but shaping a winning roster costs assets now. I love our roster. I really do. I think that we don't need to do a whole lot. And man, I want to give a chance to a new coach with the guys and see if they get something more out of them than Nick did in recent years, because I think we're going to be pleasantly surprised to see that they do. They really do. Dan is saying, and Masai, we trust. That's right. Rely on Masai. That's what we're saying right now. G saying, I think Sergio's team is in the finals again. Hence why, maybe that's why they haven't announced anything. Mo would know this better. Actually, I know what's going on. He finished the semifinals on Friday, but the finals aren't till Friday, this Friday coming up. So he has a whole week off. He is here in Toronto right now. And I'll bet you Sergio is hanging out, met with the front office yesterday, and now he may be going around and meeting with all the Raptors players that are in town right now and talking to them personally about possibly being the coach. That could be actually why Chris posted that, because he may be excited because he may really like Sergio from the time he's already coached us. So, that may be that's what's going on this weekend. They're not going to worry about waiting for that championship in Italy to be over, G. They're going to go ahead and announce it this week and let him go back and finish up, and then he'll come back again and then be hitting the ground running with us around draft time. So I think that they're just doing their due diligence, and they may be like doing final interviews with with Sergio or Jordy with players who just happen to be in town right now. So we'll have to see. Nameless is saying, did you know most lavish kingdoms in the world were in Africa with gold and diamonds and wealth, kings and queens, all hidden from you? Yeah, until people came from Netherlands and UK and France, and they came and stole all that shit. And some of those diamonds and gold, they're sitting in Buckingham Palace in UK, in London. I mean, that's the truth. The Nameless is exactly right. They had a wealth and they were doing very, very well there. And then, people started coming there and utilizing their resources and their wealth and stealing it. Honestly, it's the truth. Let's see. In Masai we trust. I love to see that hashtag always. Always love seeing that hashtag. And in Masai we trust for sure. I love it. Let's see. Let me see. Hang on. Where am I? Holy crap. Wow, you guys went long. All right, this is good. We got a lot to talk about. Rely on Masai we trust. Nameless saying they rewrote history and want people of color to believe they came from slavery. Wrong, wrong, and wrong came from royalty. Yeah, I mean, I like that way of shaping that for sure, for sure. I like that way of shaping that. Empower people. In some ways, don't make them feel like they're victims. Don't make them feel like that. They are who they are. I get that. I get that mentality. And not every person's route to come to North America was through slavery. That's true. That is definitely true. So, I like what you're saying here. I really do. Monique saying Messiah over everything. I like that too. Kareem saying, yeah, Nameless, you're wrong, bro. We can discuss this off the comment section. You are right. Africa is full of riches and kings and was robbed, but your stance on racism is pretty odd. Well, I don't want to cause any real infighting today because of a controversial subject today, but I totally side with Kareem on this because the first part I just said, and then yeah, I mean it's a weird thing. Like I think he means well, Kareem. It's just that it's kind of like there's a real strong like uniting front that wants to bring us all together by saying we're all one and stop dividing us by race. And I totally get that mentality. But we need to realize also, just like somebody may be old or young, these are characteristics that are visible to the eye. That you can see somebody and say, well, that's a white person, that's a black person. And some people may have discriminatory beliefs and ways that they go about in their life. So we can't just go about life saying, oh, we should all just be colorblind because there is issues where people will have just as much as being discriminatory towards an old person or against a young person, kind of thing like that. So it is a factor that needs to not be poo-pooed and say this shouldn't be in this world anymore. We're all the same, colorblind. You can't do that. It's just not realistic. So you do have to take you have to make that distinction and say, well, this person is black, and this person is white, and this person is, Hispanic. These all are characteristics that can be determinant in somebody's bad behavior towards that person. So I don't know if I'm saying that very well, but I'm trying to get it across. I'm really walking a tightrope today. And I know this is controversial, and some people just don't feel comfortable talking about these subjects. Well, I do. I don't care. I'm crazy. Shir Khan saying, I don't know about you, Rapid Freak family, but the anticipation is agonizing for me. Who are we going to get as a coach? Who are we picking in the draft? And who is staying on the roster? Training camp is going to be epic. I love this. Shir Khan is such a breath of positivity, and I'm with you, man. I don't know if I'm agonizing. I'm excited. Like every once in a while, these last couple of days, I'll think to myself, I have some really good feelings of optimism about our coaching hire. For some reason, I have some pre feelings of like, this is going to be badass. What happens when we get our new coach? And we're going to have a real swagger to us. It's going to be different that we haven't had in a little while. I think what Mike's piece on Chris Boucher yesterday, it was very much illustrated that one of the things lacking in the current Raptors right now was like being an underdog and feeling like a chip on your shoulders. Like it was so true what Chris said. Past Raptor teams were not the most talented teams. We did not have the best benches in the past. So this argument that, oh, the Raptors have no bench and Nick Nurse had nothing to work with is bullshit. Because we've had coaches and teams in the past that didn't have nothing then and they overachieved and worked their asses off. And that was part of our identity as a franchise. Well, we lost it at some point after the championship because we all got cushy and feeling like, oh, yeah, we're a top dog team in the East. Well, we needed that like underdog chip on our shoulder kind of chip there still to get the best effort from our Raptors. We're much better coming from down below and proving something than sitting up top and kind of coasting. That's what we've learned. That may be the most important lesson we learned this year. And then Chris said it. He's like, we need to have a chip on our shoulder. Even if we're not the best team, not the most talented, we always came out and had the best effort. We saw it in the Tampa season, exactly what Chris is talking. So at some point, we got too cushy. And we got to get back to that. And then we'll be successful again. I'm all about that. I love it. I love it so much. All right, let's keep going. Hang on, where are we here? Seymour is saying, uh, it's always been about the players. This season, the refs took notice. Next season coming, it's rely on Messiah. I like that. I like that a lot. Cowboys saying, what's your take on Target selling Pride clothing and coloring books with trans and etc. to kids, Lex, and Raptors freaks? Jeez. I mean, that is very touchy, Bradley. Listen, once again, I have to preface this as I'm somebody who does not have children myself. So in some ways, I cannot get in that mindset of being a parent. I just don't have it. I have never experienced that. So in some ways, I have to kind of take myself out of this question and say, I don't have any basis of how to deal with that because I don't know how I would feel. So I can't just blanketly say, yeah, this is okay. In some ways, I think that it should be okay. And that, like I said, if you're a parent, you should be teaching your child everything about the world. That if you kind of shelter your children in some ways, it's not good because they're going to find out stuff anyway at some point. And in some ways, you want to control the narrative of how they get taught that more than them just finding it out some other way. It could be the person that teaches them that kind of stuff, teaches them in a way that you do not agree with. So that's what I'm saying. In some ways, you want to take the power in your hands as a parent, Bradley. You do it yourself. But don't shield them. In some ways, we do an injustice to our children when we shield them from certain things. I get it. In some ways, sexual things need to be shielded from children at a young age. But maybe there's a way of going about it where that you can talk about it in non-sexual ways so that they can understand what it is. And it's not that you're worried about them going in that direction or anything. It's not that you just want to give them the facts. You just want to give them the reality of it so that they're informed. And, listen, I think that every parent, if I was blessed enough to be a parent myself, I would want my child to be whoever they wanted to be, and I would accept them for whoever they wanted to be. And I think that's part of the problem also here is that parents are afraid of their children becoming something that they don't want to accept. And I think that that may be where the problem is mostly is. So I would do this, Bradley. Seriously, once again, I can't say this as an expert because I really don't have any where in this world because I'm not a parent. I would say that. I would say talk to your kids yourself. Do it in a non-sexual way and tell them just like, well, there's some people that are kind of in between and some people are like this. Now, if your kid says, well, that's weird, I don't know about that, daddy, or something like that, or your kid says, that's cool, or something, you got to just let them be who they are. Because in some ways, it's not that they're getting groomed to become these people. Sometimes your kids are who they are already, and they would have been that without even knowing what trans or gay is. Gay people are gay people. They are born gay people. They don't become gay people. They're not indoctrinated into gayness by gay people. So that I think that's the way to look at it, Bradley. And hopefully I'm not out of pocket or anything. With all due respect, I'm not a parent, and I don't know how I would deal with this minefield exactly myself. But I probably would deal with it exactly how I just said. So it's crazy. In some ways, this is part of the reason why I don't want to have any kids is because this is all kinds of stuff that headaches. And I'm like, I don't know how I would deal with this. Fun guy saying, oh, it's okay, guys. I get how gun violence turned into a race topic. It's sad, but really, as gun violence is quickly attributed to African Americans and Canadians, hoods are majorly occupied by that race, obviously. I'm not bringing it into this. I mean, listen, gun violence sees no color, seriously. And there's going to be dog whistle incidents that people are going to really try and key on and tear people apart or make people be in fear or scared of. There's all kinds of crazy stories that are generated right now or put out on blast to scare people to think they need to protect themselves more. In fact, that's one of the biggest lies right now. Justin brought it up in the gun violence press conference that the right wingers are trying to scare everyone to think that violent people are coming for them, that violent Black people will come and hurt them. They use race as a boogeyman. And that's part of what they drive people to be racist and hateful of Black people is like, oh, I'm worried they're all criminals. They're all going to come get me. There may be one really sad, bad story, and they'll key on it and they'll overplay it in everybody's head. And it's not true. There's violence in all communities, and it's really more has to do with economics and not race. There's very rural, poor white communities that have just as much gun violence and stupid stuff going on in it too. So it's not really a race thing. Honestly, it's an economics thing. It has to do with how much money. And if people are poor and desperate, they become more like criminals. And that's what happens. So, it's a weird situation, fun guy. Seymour saying, Cowboy, for me, it's leave the kids alone. I don't agree with maybe targeting anything towards kids that are under teenagers. That's not good in some ways. I mean, really, in some ways, I get the parents wanting to shield their kids away from certain things. But once again, you want to control the narrative with your children. You talk to them first before everything else does, and then you can navigate it better. So Mike's saying Masai has chosen a direction now, and we will see how it goes. He made the first shaping move in getting Pirtle back. We'll see if he does any other this summer before we didn't have the assets to W. Masai, listen, I think he's untouchable. Everybody who thinks he's doing a bad job, you're idiots. Seriously, stop second guessing him. You don't understand what all he's dealing with behind closed doors in boardrooms and just how difficult some of these things is. If he said he was frustrated or they said he was frustrated at the end of the year, well, he's probably frustrated with Nick Nurse and his situation and maybe a couple other things like Fred and some of the things that are happening with him also. So I totally get why Masai's frustrated right now. It's not easy doing his job. There's a lot of pressure and it's very difficult. He's trying to keep it all together for us, guys. He really is. He's the guy trying to keep everything together for us. MSJ saying Plato said that freedom is slavery in a democracy. I left North America, and I can tell you that where I am, people are far more human and caring despite all the political kindness going on in the USA. Wow. I don't know where you are, MSJ, but I'd be intrigued to find out. Freedom is slavery in a democracy. I mean, listen, we can get real deep today and talk about how our whole society, in some ways, we all are like, what is freedom? Are we totally free in this society? Maybe not. We have to be wage slaves just to keep alive and to save society. Some of these people say you turn serfdom into slavedom, into wage slavery, and that's where we're at now. So it's like it's an illusion of freedom in some ways, sure. But in some ways, is it? Because some ways you can go and do things and you get away with it, like if as long as it's not crime and it's not hurting other people. So I don't know. This is a very interesting statement by MSJ. I think that's very wise in some ways and very interesting. It's kind of a riddle, but also I could totally get where you may be. Maybe I have no idea where you are though. Is way more like feeling more freedom than here right now. Yeah, I can get that. It's probably because there's a lot of fascism in politics right now in North America. Cool Cat saying, "Good morning, Rapid Free Crew." Darn, I overslept. I wanted to be early for this discussion. Well, Cool Cat, we're still here and we're still talking about it. I am going to do the cutoff, so nobody make any more comments at this point, because I do have to get out of here and get back out to the cottage today. So, all right, let's keep going. Graps Love is saying, "Get Justin Trudeau out of that picture. He's an idiot." Actually, I'm very proud of my prime minister. I love the prime minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau. He's not perfect. He has done some despicable, dumb things like blackface, and he is a corporate puppet. But on the whole, he is making change that I like. In fact, from that press conference in that picture, one thing he did in that press conference that no leader in the United States is doing right now with their serious gun problem is he gave actual solutions. All those people down there are saying thoughts and prayers. Oh, it's the gun. It's the mental health issue. It's not the guns. They're saying all this roundabout shit and just dancing around for the gun lobby and not really doing anything about it. Meanwhile, Justin up here is doing something about it. And what he said was so on point. And he has real solutions that will actually work. That is good leadership. I'm sorry. I got to disagree. I know a lot of people hate him. He's getting tarred and feathered publicly in the media by the right wingers all the time, just like Biden does down south. But he's doing a good job and he's a good leader and he's very well spoken. And I'm proud of him. You don't have to like him, but I do. I do like him. I like him more than ever right now because he's making stuff happen. And, you can be mad at him for other stuff. Say he's anti-freedom, anti-convoy, all that kind of stuff. That's fine. Everybody's right to have their own political opinions. But I'm going to say something that may be not so popular anymore. I'm proud of my prime minister, and I'm glad Justin Trudeau is in charge of Canada right now. He's not perfect. There are a lot of problems, but He's better than the alternatives, and at least he's making some changes that are very, very good, especially on the subject today from the picture on the stream. So there we go. Trevor's saying, I'm ready to hear who's our next head coach. Please, 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 Messiah. Yes, Sergio Scariolo. Yes, please, please, Sergio, or maybe even Jordy. Yes, yes. Cowboys agreeing with Seymour. Bam. G saying supply and demand are the core issues with rent prices. No matter what any politician promises about reaching rents, it is impossible unless the supply and demand match. I don't even understand what's going on here in Toronto right now. Because listen, it seems like we have a lot of empty apartments, a lot of apartments that are just sitting there, nobody's in there. And then everybody's saying, "Oh, there's more people coming to Toronto. We need more apartments." Well, why the fuck would you build so many expensive apartments that nobody can afford? It's like we need affordable housing. We don't need more fancy high-rise apartments that nobody can afford that are just going to sit empty. Meanwhile, there's people sleeping in the parks. Does any of this make sense? It's because the system is broken for housing in Toronto and it needs to be fixed. And some of it is we need to stop foreign investment in public in real estate here in Toronto. There's too many people making money off of us like parasites from other countries, other places. We have poor leadership that allowed this. They need to stop allowing big corporations from these states and other countries to own big properties and condos in downtown Toronto because the money doesn't stay here. It goes right out the window somewhere else to them. And it's just like the 407. It's the same thing. All the money generated from the 407 for people go and take that toll road, it all goes to other countries. It's like we have parasites feeding off the people of Ontario because Mike Harris was a piece of shit as a premier from a long time before. Well, what we got to do is matching supply and demand in Toronto with rentals is we need more affordable housing. Stop building such expensive, stupid condos if nobody can stay in them. And I don't understand where all these people are coming from. Are there more people coming that we have to keep building new stuff? No, retrofit old stuff and build it into affordable stuff instead of fancy new stuff. It's really just developers trying to make money off of projects which aren't realistically going to be working for housing issues. So there's a lot of issues here. Yeah. And some of it is we need to change the rules. We get a new mayor, Olivia Chow, hopefully, and maybe she can start making some headway on some of these issues in a real way that actually helps real people, average people. That's the thing. And a lot of people are leaving the city because you can't live here anymore. It's too expensive. In fact, I will be one of those people at some point. I will leave the city that I love, Toronto, because I can't afford to live here. And that's just how it is. It's just the way everybody's doing. You think more people are going to come here and live in these expensive condos they keep building? No, they're just going to sit there empty, and more people will flee the city. And it's just stupid. It's stupid. They could fix some of this if we had good politicians and a good system for all this. But no, foreign investments and people leeching off of the people of Toronto to make money is the problem, is part of the problem. That money all goes right out of our economy into the pockets of people in other countries. Yeah, that's a messed up thing, isn't it? Nameless is saying, Kareem, I think you're misunderstanding me a little. Racism is obviously in the world. My point is it's dumb and completely unfounded. Oh, okay. See, he's anti-racist. He's saying being a racist is dumb. He's not saying that it doesn't exist. Okay, thanks for clarifying, Nameless. It's all good. Cool Cat saying human rights is the epicenter of humanity. Lots of kids are committing suicide, which is alarming. See, that's part of the problem. Listen, Bradley, I don't know you that well. I've met you before a couple times in public, and I don't know any of your kids, and I don't know all the ages and all this kind of stuff. But listen, wouldn't you much rather be the dad that's understanding to your kid who may be in a different place? I'm not saying any of your kids will be gay or trans. I'm not saying that. But if one was, wouldn't you want to be an understanding dad that's there for them no matter what, instead of them going towards something like what Cool Cat just said, because they have to hide it and they feel like ostracized by society. And like, if you're a kid like that in Florida right now, and you just found out just you being you may put your parents in jail, yeah, you may be thinking more about suicide. And that's something we need to think about in this whole thing, is that like these are people, even if you think that they're weird because they want to be trans or gay or something like that, they're still people and they may be your child. And that's the thing. As parents, you got to be just all encompassing love towards your child, whoever they are and whoever they truly are. Now, that it's a weird thing. And Cool Cat's exactly right. The suicide rates right now with trans kids are alarming, and it's just not good. MSJ saying Masai is not a problem at all. Once we get a new coach, it's going to be a takeoff in Raps land. The players are ready for it and they want to win. They were being held back by dysfunctional coaching, it seems. Yes. Yes. I love MSJ's statement here, and he's exactly right. Let's protect Masai. We're going to be fine. He's one of the best. He's probably one of the best GMs in the history of the NBA. In fact, he's like the modern era Red Auerbach. And some people would be like, you're crazy for saying that, Lex. But no, in some ways, it's very true. He has power and influence like Red Auerbach did for the Celtics in the last century. He really, really does. He's that kind of a head of our team. He's the Raptors' Red Auerbach, and we cannot poo-poo that. Red Auerbach was a storied person with the Celtics franchise until he died. We need to have that with Masai also. We need to have him around just like Red Auerbach was with the Boston. So let's keep going. Mike is saying Masai builds roster value over time by being in the right guys, bringing in the right guys, and developing their game over years. It takes the right guys for this to work. Getting those guys that have the talent is the key to the wins. You know, in some ways, Scotty's the enigma to me right now. Is this feeling that I just described that Chris is saying that we lost things, we're too easy, too cushy? Is it with Scott? Is we need Scott to find that like failure in his career so that he gets motivated to not want it anymore? Like that's part of it. In some ways, some young players need to come into the league and fail to realize how bad it feels, and then they never want to feel it again. And then they actually get like off their ass and get to another level with their game because they're much more motivated. I want to see this from Scotty at this point. That in some ways we're at a fork in the road. We can go two different ways with the Raptors franchise right now. And Scott, in some ways, you have part of the keys to drive us on which road we're going to go down. So, Scott, you don't want to be a mid team, a 500 team like last year. You don't want to be a team that doesn't make the playoffs like we were last year. You have a lot of the power in your hands to change that yourself and how you want to do things this season. And I'm all about it. You go, Scotty Wayne Barnes. I'm all about it. Let's go. All right, let's keep going with the comments. I have moved on to Spoutable instead of Twitter. Lots of fake accounts and propaganda is right at home on Twitter. It's getting worse and worse, Cool Cat. It's getting so bad. Like I'm telling you, this thing about Scoot Henderson yesterday that we fell for, it is getting propagated and put out more and more in different places. And people don't understand it's not real. It's fooling people like quickly. It's like what Scoot Henderson worked out with us. And the whole basis was to try and influence that we are going to trade with Portland and get their pick and get Scoot Henderson. And then the Raptors fans get all crazy and they're like, well, why didn't we trade and get Scoot Henderson? And it may be part of this whole elaborate scheme to put down Masai. They'll say, well, wait, you worked out Scoot. Why didn't you trade and get Portland? We didn't work out Scoot. We were never going to trade with Portland. Y'all made that narrative up. And if we don't do it, they're going to say he failed because he didn't do that. Because that's what they keep saying. They keep saying, oh, he failed if he didn't do this. He failed if he didn't do this. It sounds like other fan nations are making this bullshit up to make it seem like our guy's not good. So he gets out of here like Nick Nurse. So one of them can have him. So stop falling for this, Raptor fans. If you're a real Raptor fan, stand by Masai and stop coming after him. Don't buy the bullshit made up by other people because he's doing a good job. He really is. Shir Khan saying, every person deserves our humanity. This is the only thing that matters. The only good thing about Elon buying Twitter is the money he gave up. Maybe it's going to be used better than what Elon would have. You know, he could do so many different good things with his money. He could cause a lot. He could cause a lot of good things to happen. He could actually end a lot of suffering. He could do a lot of things. In fact, him and Bezos, just the two of them together, could end world hunger. These guys are not good people. They're villains. And he's trying to act like he's a humanitarian. He's all this kind of stuff. No, he's absolutely like, seriously, these guys are written right out of a DC comic. Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk. They are super villains. Just like Lex Luthor, just like the character in there. Like Jeff Bezos looks like Lex Luthor. I'm telling y'all, these are not good people. And that's why we need to take their power away in some ways by like taxing the hell out of them. Somebody said we put a 90% tax rate on these billionaires. We fix all of our societal problems and they're still rich and they're still fine. 90% tax rate. That's right. Instead of a 0% tax rate, instead of a 4% tax rate, put a 90% tax rate on their asses and see how much we get better programs and a better, healthier middle class in our society. They're taking all of our money and they're pooling it themselves. It's insane how much money $1 billion is. And people don't really realize just how gross they are hoarding right now. People look at somebody at their house and they're hoarding furniture and items in their house, they're a hoarder. Well, these people are just as bad. They're hoarding the money. And it's like really part of the reason why the middle class is struggling so badly right now. It's all up there. I'm telling you. Cool Cat is saying sports has always been used to progress as a society. NBA is a part of the sports industry that moves us forward in a society. This is exactly right. This is a great point that I meant to take on this stream today. Is that it's true? Sports are part of the progress, the push, the influence, the thing that helps things get better, the thing that changes things. Sports was so integral in the civil rights movement that leaders like Lou Alcindor and Jim Brown, rest in peace, Jim Brown, and people like that did, press conferences and spoke out about racial issues. Bill Russell, this has always been something intertwined with it. Colin Kaepernick has had a huge impact. In fact, he may be the most important NFL player in the last 20 years. And a lot of NFL people will be like, what? Oh, Peyton Manning, Peyton Manning. No, fuck that. Colin Kaepernick is the most important NFL player in the last 20 years. And in the history of the world, he may be the only one that anybody talks about in 100 years from now. So it is an impact, and it does help progress society. And Cool Cat's exactly right. You don't want to let athletes speak out and say what they have to say. You don't want musicians to speak out politically. Well, then you don't want progress. You want to stagnate, and you enjoy the status quo. That's the thing. The people that want status quo will tell the people to shut up and play. Cowboys saying, let's go, Masai and Raptors. Watch out, NBA. Shit about to hit the fan. That's right. You thought we were dead. We're coming back. That's right. Wayne said, I look to Raptor Streak for verification on most issues. Twitter is a right-wing lying platform for tools. The quietness of our coach hunt is telling that it's going to be transformative. I love what Wayne's statement is here. I love the last part. The quietness of our coach's search is telling that it will be transformative. It's just like that pupae or whatever larvae in the cocoon. We're in there getting all ready to come out and emerge as a big, beautiful butterfly coming out of this coaching search. I love it. I love it. And I appreciate the other stuff you said there. I agree. Twitter is a right-wing lying platform that is for tools, idiots. And it's really, really gross at this point. Nameless saying, bro, I don't hate anything in this world. What the fuck? We love you, Nameless. My paisan. Harboring hate for anything is very taxing on the body. Be free and liberate yourself from hate. Join me. That's part of the thing. Some people say that, it's not even hate. The opposite of love is fear. And hate comes from fear. So don't be fearful anymore, people. Start coming forward in your life with love. And that is the opposite of fear. And fear causes hate. So understand all those forces. Do you want to be do you want to live in fear? Because when you're hateful, you're living in fear. That's basically what's happening here. So you're a badass. If you're a big, strong badass like Nameless, you can be a badass and just come with love. Because that's true. It's a hateful person is a scared coward. Is what it is at this point. It really is. Cool Cat saying humans of different genders have existed forever. It's not new. Many have died, lived under pretense. They are just fighting for their life. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, seriously, it's, listen, hermaphrodites, there's a spectrum. Just like there's a spectrum for autism, there's a spectrum of light in this world, there's a spectrum of gender. And people that don't agree with that are actually living in fear once again. And their fear manifests in hate. Because they may be fearful that they may have a percentage of feminine qualities in their body. Let's think about the biology of this. We come from an X and a Y that put together in pregnancy to become what we are. There's going to be a little bit of genetics that could have predisposed you to be a female or a male that's going to be in there. And the mix of it all could be in different percentages. So, I'm in touch with my feminine side. I understand that there is a certain percentage of me that is feminine, and I don't reject it outright and be like, oh no, 100% man, baby. Some men are so worried about that aspect of the feminine side of themselves that they really shut a part of themselves out that is humanistic. And that is part of what becomes, it's like the hate becomes the fear of them. Oh my gosh. Some people are so worried about whether they're gay or not that they become so hateful when they aren't actually in touch with who they really are and they are actually gay, that they become like such a hateful person in fear. So this is such a weird situation. People should just try and get in touch with who they really are and understand there's a spectrum. I think that there's very masculine women, there's very feminine men, and they may choose to be straight. And there's not is what they self-identify and how they want to live their life. So everybody's on a spectrum to a degree, and the more you understand that and realize that, maybe the more humanistic and understanding you could be, because we're all on that scale somewhere. I don't know what my percentage is exactly of masculine versus feminine, but we all have it. And if you don't believe that, if you're just like, I'm 100% male, well, you may be having a part that you're afraid of, and that's why you're fearful. That's what I'm saying. Logical saying to define retooling in the NBA, you continue with some of the players that have more to give over years and acquiring new tools that can be developed. If fans are having issues with retooling, then want. The fans, all right. In some ways, I'm just going to cut out all the noise on Twitter. And like I said, if you just see people slamming Masai, stand up for him, please. That's all I'm asking right now. Like I said, we can't afford to like lose more with our franchise right now. We've already lost a lot, and I don't want to lose any more right now. Seriously, our superstars, our absolute Hall of Fame, great coach Nick Nurse is gone at this point, and we can't afford to lose our GM also. We really can't. In fact, I will tell everybody, start blaming Bobby Webster before you blame Masai. We can fire Bobby before we can fire Masai. And I don't want to fire either of them. I don't want to fire Masai or Bobby. Don't get me wrong. But if we're going to fire someone, we fire Bobby first. He's like the person in between. It's kind of like on Survivor when you have a player that you can put as a shield in front of you. Well, Bobby is kind of that shield for Masai just in case. So let's keep going. Monique is saying Monday memory thought for you, Lex. Fred's 54-point game. It's up to you. That's not a bad Monday memory. I don't know. I'm kind of moving away from the Monday memories and I'm starting this new Monday moment kind of thing. And it may really kind of encapsulate a present, like current kind of moment that just happened more. I'm trying to be flexible with my Monday content because the Monday memories were kind of hard to put together for date and making something important from it. And I didn't like how I did it last summer where I kind of went over the whole season from the year before. I definitely don't want to do that this season because there's a lot of games that I don't want to reminisce about from last season. So in some ways, I'm making it more present at this point. It's not going to be so much of a past thing, but they will be Monday memories from time to time. But I think there'll be more and more Monday moments instead. But it's a good suggestion. I'll definitely do that one at some point. It may be more on an anniversary of it then, though, Monique. MSJ saying politics hijacks the mind has you think that you thought of it yourself. Laugh out loud. One cause after another to keep people's minds divided. I say stay away from ism thinking and political leaders of any kind. I wish we could all be apathetic and not really worry about politics in our lives, but right now there's a war of control. And that if we don't get politically active and vote and just kind of like, you don't have to get out there and make espouse and be like really for it or out with it, but be private with your politics, but at least be politically active and voting, because there's a lot of stuff that's going to be happening. If you don't do stuff politically, somebody else will do it for you and they will make the decisions that you don't like against you. So that's what I'm saying. You have to be political to an extent. If you're apathetic about politics, then that's where you get in trouble. So, I mean, I get what you're saying. I wish I didn't have to think about politics. I don't want to think about politics. I'd much rather think about basketball. But in today's world, there's forces out there, especially the right wing, and with like wanting to control us, whether that we have access to birth control or abortion, whether they're trying to legislate things about what we can and can't do. We gotta watch out for that. And if we don't, then they'll come and take it. Is what I'm saying. Fun guy saying, are things progressing for the better though? I mean, let's talk overpopulation, climate disaster, having means of nuclear destruction to destroy the planet over times, recession of resources, etc. I agree with you. No, I don't think things are progressing like correctly in some ways. In some ways, they are. In some ways, they maybe socially. In some ways, things are progressing the right way, but not economically. Not in the I think that the capitalist system will destroy our planet and we'll all die. Is basically what's going to happen. Eckhart Tolle, I don't know if I talked about this recently, but he's a speaker from Vancouver, and he's very very smart. He has a New Earth and a Power of Now, a couple books. He's been on Oprah a lot. He's a philosopher. He's a modern philosopher. And he was asked recently about what he thinks is going to happen in the future, and he said climate change is going to be so bad that we're not going to be able to. We're going to become infertile. Like in the next 100 years, we're going to die off like a species in society, like out in the wild, because we don't have the men cannot reproduce with the women. Now we may get technology scientifically to create embryos in a lab and manufacture people that way, but we won't be able to make people the old-fashioned way because we will be too infertile, and we won't be able to recreate more people, and we'll die off just like a species would in the wild. That's probably likely. That it won't be like, if it's not a nuclear war, it will be that we die off just like a species goes extinct. There may be very few people that are still alive, or we do some, there's elites or something that are really rich and they're like, oh, we can propagate our bloodline because we had enough money to pay for the thing that'll happen. But because we polluted the world so much, there's so much microplastics in our body now. They're saying changes with us biologically that in 100, 200 years from now, we may not be able to reproduce. And that's his prediction for what's going to happen. The planet will be fine. It'll live on after us, just like species go extinct all the time and life goes on. Well, that may be what happens with us. There's also problems where, the planet may be less habitable because of rising temperatures and different things that happen, rising sea levels. There's a lot of issues that we got to look out for, and those are not good progress. No, it's not. But it's partly because of our progress with society and building and factories and destruction that caused this for us. So you're right. The progress hasn't been good, but I would say it's because of the getting money is caused the progress to not be good. The progress socially with being more loving and all encompassing with everybody in society, that progress is good. It's the progress in the world and the environment is not good. And I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Overpopulation, I don't, you see, that's part of it too. Like overpopulation could happen like where I studied this in grad school. We hit a certain population height and then we start dying off because there's too many of us. That's just the way things naturally happen in the natural world with all kinds of animals and species. So this is some ways we got to remember we are just another species on this planet, just like orangutans or koalas or any animal on this planet. And if we make this a hard place for us to live, we will die off just like they do. So, that's why we need to do climate control, is because listen, if you don't have the right amount of sperm in your nutsack, you ain't gonna make no babies in 100, 200 years. And it's not gonna be our problem because we're fine right now. It's gonna be a progression through generations that it leads to this more and more. Fertility rates in men have been dropping in the industrial age since it started. We are not as fertile as we were as our great great grandfathers were. Let's just put it away. That's just the damn facts. And if that trend continues because we're polluting our own planet, well, it'll continue to happen, and that's how it'll go. So, want to make climate change important? Well, you want your kids to be able to have kids 200 years from now? Well, that's why you need to do something about it. Wayne Strainer saying gun culture is a minefield of bullshit. Ownership of armaments comes with great responsibility and government initiatives to curb gun violence, and smuggling does not infringe on my gun ownership. You know what it is? Much like how I said, you get indoctrinated into racism in your family, gun culture can be indoctrinated in your family also. Now, also a big proponent of the problem with gun culture is the media. It's rap music, sure. The gun ops culture is a part of it. The romanticism of guns and violence in movies and TV has been around for a while and is a huge part of it. People think that they can be a cowboy in the Wild West and be a hero in their own life, like it's the movies, and like be somebody in the moment that just does something amazing in some sort of situation. Sure, that sometimes happens, but most of the time it does not. And most of the time, those kind of people are kind of not the best vigilante justice kind of people to be taking justice into their own hands. Kind of like that guy who choked out the guy on the New York subway and recently. Yeah, that's a little bit overkill. The guy doesn't need to die just because he's freaking out on the subway. But the dude felt like he took it on his hands to choke him out and kill him right then. It's so crazy. That's what I'm saying. We're not supposed to be John Wayne in the movies and be the cowboy that saves the day. This is in the movies. And that's part of the thing that's the problem with gun culture is that everybody wants to be the hero, or they want to be the criminal. They want to romanticize like being a gangster and run around and stuff like that. That's the gun culture I don't like. I'm okay with people owning guns, but really it's a private thing. It's a thing you shouldn't put on blast. It's a thing that you should have it's a tool. It's not a toy. It's a tool. It's something that you can use very effectively for either protection or other things that you want to do, like hunting and stuff like that. But in some ways, it's a lot of other things too. It's all the romanticizing of it that's really bad. It's the gun lobby's so weird with some of the really weird ways that they make people think that people are coming to take their guns from them and all this stuff. So they get up in arms, and I don't know. It's an interesting, weird thing. Like there is good gun culture. I won't lie. There's good gun culture, and there's very, very toxic, bad gun culture also. And I think I'm trying to explain the differences there. I don't know. Cool Cat saying, remember when Masai was harmed by that racist cop when we won our chip? After that personal experience, of course, he will stand up for others that don't have the money and powerful machine for freedom. There you go. That's a good example. It really pissed me off. Like somebody's saying now they need to fire Masai. And then Golden State was saying, yeah, we'll hire him. And say, like, when they fired Bob Myers, or Bob Myers stepped down this week as the GM, all the Warriors fans were like, now let's go steal Masai from Toronto. And I'm like, why the fuck would he come to y'all when he got that racist ass treatment from your security guard in your building? Like, and they just think, like, that's what I'm saying. They obviously want Masai to replace Bob Myers. They do. Warriors Nation wants that. So why do you all not realize that it could be Warriors fans that are causing all this problem with talking shit about Masai? There's anonymity in where the source of where this stuff is coming from, and is at an all-time high because of Twitter and different things like that. You could be a completely different person than who you seem to be, and that's why you're saying this stuff. So they have the opening of GM at Golden State, and Golden State fans want Masai. Well, why wouldn't they come in here and say Masai's failing in Toronto? We need to fire him. We need to fire him. Do you guys understand what I'm saying now with this? How it works? I know y'all do that watch me regularly. But people that are watching me maybe for the first time and are maybe not so happy with Masai, can you realize how you could be manipulated by fans in other nations with this? Can you realize that now? Wayne's saying, by the way, Lex, great weather in the Caribbean, rain, wind, and sunshine in combination. That's awesome. It's beautiful here today. We had a heat wave for a couple of days, and yesterday it cooled off real nice, and now it just looks so pretty out there. Nice blue sky and not too hot. So I'm looking forward to getting the yard and getting some yard work done out the cottage, but I got to get done. My dad's going to be here at noon, so I'm definitely going to finish up in the next 15 to 20, guys. Let's see. Name is saying everybody in society has been brainwashed into believing someone's race means anything at all. Totally misguided. All right, I'm going to take it from the biological approach. We are all the same. We're the same kind of bodies with cells and all kinds of stuff. There may be slight differences from regional places that you grew up. You may lived in a cold temperature, and maybe there's some things about your body that are different. You may have lived in a hot temperature. There may be some things that are body are different. But you take a black person, an Asian person, a Hispanic person, a white person, an Indian person, a person from all around the world, and biologically, we're basically the same thing inside out. I will agree with you on that. But once again, I caution you, it's important to understand that perception with your eye, the eye test, is part of what the mechanism of discrimination and racism is. That biologically, you're right. We're all the same, and we should all be one and think that way. Nobody's better than each other. We're all the same. There's not any kind of stereotype. Oh, this group is dumber than this group, or this group is better at this than this group. No, we all have the chance to be whatever and excel at anything, no matter what our background is racially. So, I like that way of painting it. And I think that's what you're trying to say, Nameless. But also don't poo-poo that it isn't a factor in life. That's what we're saying. It's like, people can detect skin color and they can act in bad ways because of that. So I'm just saying, Shere Khan saying in a lot of ways, this is just a repetition of hate cycles throughout history. People like Egyptians, Africans, Jews, Muslims, Asians, and even Christians have had to go through atrocities. Always speak the truth. Shere Khan's exactly right. We repeat history. We don't listen to our mistakes. And this is why, in some ways, we don't want to be like the nice German people in Germany that sat back and watched the Nazis go crazy and cause World War II. We don't want that. That's why we have to learn from the mistakes. We'll learn that the people that sat back and let that shit happen, we can do something about it ahead of it and maybe stop it. So more and more, we need to be anti-fascist. The fascists are Donald Trump, Ron DeSantis, Doug Ford, other like people that are right in this country. The right wings are the fascists right now. They're the ones who want to ban books. They're the ones who want to take away reproductive rights. They're the ones who are doing anti-trans things. That's what I'm saying. They're the fascists, and we need to take the fight to them. You want to be Captain America and go kill Red Skull at World War II? We can be that. We can be the heroes and stopping the people that want to control us all in that way, because they are repeating the patterns of the past. They really are. And we can learn from that and know what worked against it. MSJ saying at Wayne, where are you at? I'm in Nica at the moment. Nica, you're in Nicaragua. Very cool. Very, very cool. So you're in Central America. That's pretty cool, MSJ. Awesome. I know that there's been a lot of issues there because of manipulation with the United States, for sure, in the 80s, Reagan and Noriega and all that kind of stuff. Oh, yeah. Yeah, they have their scars from imperialism and bullshit going on around down there. Wayne Strainer saying, small island, the Caribbean, starting and ending with an A. Antigua. Yes, he's in the home of Special Delivery Jones, Mr. Special Delivery Jones. All right, I know where you're. Oh, maybe he's in Aruba. It's kind of ambiguous. It could be either one. Let's see. Cowboy saying jam rock. Yeah, jam rock. I like that. Name is saying, I don't believe in the N word and won't listen to music that uses it. I listen. It's a weird word. I don't say people shouldn't be able to use it if they are of a certain color, but obviously somebody like me shouldn't be using it. And then, I'm the same way. I do my videos on Friday, and if somebody overuses it way, way too much, it turns me off. Like I won't go too far. Now, there can be that word placed in songs as long as it's like well placed and it's intention in the right way or something. Like I won't have any problem with it, but it can't be like the chorus and it's like every like 5 word in the song. It's like, why? And in a lot of ways, I think I wish that word would go away. But in some ways, I also understand like taking it back and using it as a power in the culture for the people that it was used against. But in some ways, it's still not good in a lot of ways. And I'm with you, Nameless. It turns me off. And I don't want anybody using it if we can. But in some ways, I don't want to. Once again, it's freedom and rights. Now, if somebody like me wants to say it, well, you get your freedom. You get your freedom of what's going to happen to you. Freedom comes with consequences. You can do stuff, but know that you can't do anything and not get away with it. You can do some stuff and you will get in trouble. Monique saying, Bradley, I checked out Bilal more. I don't see him coming here. Masai even said we need shooting at the end of the press season exit press conference. Yeah, I don't know, Monique. I like him. If we drafted him, I'd be very happy. I mean, is he a straight point guard, though? That may be the problem. I don't know. We'll have to see. Cowboys saying, thanks, Mo. You're the best. If not Bilal, Wallace, or George. I like those names too. Kaysen or Keontae. Sure. Cool guy saying, I see M.A. Adoka getting the Boston Celtics coaching staff that says they support M.A. Yeah, they're leaving. Coach Joe's not going to have anybody. They're all going to Houston. Yeah, there's going to be a brain drain in Boston. If Jaylen Brown up and leaves them now too this summer, this could be a very different Celtics team and not as powerful next year. Bradley saying I could still see us drafting him if he's still there because he's ceiling so high, and that Masai bringing in some vets to take care of the shooting problems. Listen to this. Would we draft Koulibaly? Now, there could be an off chance that if Victor is going to be moved from San Antonio, we may want to come here because his buddy's here. So in some ways, I'm all about Bilal just for the fact that down the road, it could mean Wemby in Toronto. I mean, you got to think about it that way. He's his buddy. He's his dude he's playing with right now. That it could be enticing for Victor to want to play for Toronto at some point if we draft Koulibaly. So that's another reason why I'm okay with it, is because that could mean Victor down the road in a Raptors jersey. Let's see. Cool Cat saying, I really think Sergio is here to meet the staff and players. I think so too. I think he is. I think he's talking to players all weekend. Could be that he met with Scotty. Maybe he was at that Silent H with Scotty last night and they had a little dinner together. Who knows? Shirkan saying, great stream again, close to an hour cutoff. Have a great Sunday, Raptor Freak family. Smell the roses, touch the grass, and all that. Finals game 2 coming up. Should be fun to see the Heat counterpunch. Let's get it. I don't know if they're going to get a counterpunch, but let's go check out the Heat in the Denver Nuggets game 2 tonight in Denver. I've got your referee crew right here, guys. And let me just tell you who it is. Zach Zarba is the crew chief. He favors the Miami Heat, but just slightly, not totally too much. John Goble of Miami, Florida, is the second referee. But John Goble is a Miami ref, but he really doesn't want to show that he's like favoring the Miami Heat. So he really has a bad record for them. And he actually very much heavily favors the Denver Nuggets tonight. So Goble, even though he's a Miami native, he does not favor the Heat historically. Courtney Kirkland. Courtney Kirkland is the other ref, and he very much favors the Miami Heat. So we've got Goble and Kirkland opposite sides. Goble's favoring Denver, and Kirkland's very much favoring the Heat. And then Zach Zarba is kind of 50-50 with a little bit of favoring more the Heat in there. So there's your crew for tonight. Zach Zarba, John Goble, Courtney Kirkland are the 3 refs for game 2 tonight. There you go. All right, let me see. Let me make sure. All right, it jumped, and I don't know where I was. Okay, hang on. I'll find it. I'm almost there. No. Okay, here I am. All right, here we go. Fun Guy is saying, if you noticed, all went to shit after Sergio left. Ooh, that is actually a good point. His first year, we win a championship. His second year, we get second best record in the NBA, and then he leaves, and we become lottery team, but got Scotty Barnes. Wow. That is such a good point, Fun Guy. You know, that may be the comment of the day. That is a really good point. The first 2 years of Nick's career in Toronto actually, he was 3 years here. Sergio was here for 3 years because he was here for the Tampa year also. I forgot that. He actually coached with us for 3 years. He was here for the championship year. He was here for the year after when we had the best record in the East. And then he was with us for the bubble year, for the Tampa year, because he actually had to coach us for that little while. So he was here for 3 years. So it was already kind of going to shit in Tampa, but he did help us, like, while we were in Tampa, kind of keep the boat afloat. But then last year and then the year before, maybe this is what it is, Fun Guy. Think about this. What if Sergio is really good at motivating in the way that we just talked about what Chris was saying, that we don't have this dog or this fight? We're too lax and cushy. Maybe Sergio was that kind of guy, like a fire. And he's like, y'all are too lazy. Get out there and work hard and stop being so coasty about what you're doing. You need to get out there and work hard. You know, it could be like that. It could be that. Yeah, that's such a good observation, because the last 2 years have been kind of meh. And Sergio hasn't been around the last 2 years. Interesting, Fun Guy. Very, very interesting observation. Brilliant. MSJ saying at Wayne, ever been to the Corn Islands? Looking forward to eat the rundown later. Lobster, mackerel, clams, breadfruit, whatever they have today. Not so hot today as well. Man, you guys are making me jealous. And your subtropical temperatures and being down in somewhere down near the equator. You guys go. You guys are awesome. Wayne and MSJ. I love it. That sounds like quite the lineup. Some lobster. Give me some lobster. Yeah, I love it. All right. No more comments for sure, guys, because I am going to try and finish it up really, really quick right here. All right, hang on. Why did that jump so much? All right. Hang on. All right. Wow, you guys did write a lot, so definitely no more comments. Cowboy saying at Wayne, when I went to my twins' wedding in Jamaica, I missed 2 planes. I didn't want to come back. He kept like missing planes to come back. Bradley, he was like, I'm just staying. It's awesome, Bradley. Tom Dukes got his see no evil, hear no evil, say no evil warning. Say no more. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, moderator Tom. Very, very good. W's all around. Cowboys saying, everyone have a great day, Lex and Raptor Freaks. At the end of the day, spread love, not hate. Let's go Raptors. I think that's the most important thing to take away from the stream, is go with love and not hate, and realize that hate comes from fear. Do we want to be scaredy little scared people? Are we scared? No, we come with love and be bold and brave in your life. And come with love, that's the opposite of fear. And fear spreads hate. There you go. Bam. I love it, Cowboy. Bam, bam, bam. Cool Cat saying, I love and respect Pascal for marketing our Raptors brand during this coach search. He understands promoting stability. Yeah, if anything, Raptors fans need somebody to look to and be like, well, I don't know about Fred. I don't know about Gary, but we do know about Pascal. And Scotty the same too. He's very much putting us, repping us. Uh, Chris, Christian, Ron Harper Jr., thank you to the Raptors that are still putting us on blast in your social media. And you guys are going to be remembered for being true ones towards the Raptors this past summer. Gary, too. Gary's been putting us on blast, too. Let's see. Cool Cat's also saying a lot of races know their heritage and roots. Some blacks in the Western world don't know their heritage and roots due to slavery, but that broke the family ties. Accurate history is not taught. Yeah, listen, history is written by the winners, and a lot of times they kind of make it sound a lot better. There's a lot of awful things that this country of Canada, that is not that old, just over 200 years old, that is not that far back in our history. That's why this residential school investigation is important. Because, if we write the history books, oh, everything was nice. We just came over and we had corn and made a cornucopia and shot a turkey and ate, and we were fine on this continent. No, there was genocide. There were people that were getting murdered left and right and robbing them and their riches and taking over this land on this country. That is the history of Canada. And if you want to paint it in some sort of fairy book niceness, that's bullshit. And the truth is out there. And that's why it's important that the real history is taught. And she's totally right. There's some people that can't go back in their lineage because there's no way to go back through the ship that came from the continent originally to figure that out. If you can get that research and figure that out, blessings and thank you. That's great. I'm so happy for you. But a lot of people aren't that lucky. And we got to realize that. Everybody's got different paths, and not everybody that's black in America came from slavery, but a lot did. A lot did, probably more than didn't in some ways. So it's different. It's different for everybody. We all have different paths in some ways. My family in some ways is newer to this continent. My family immigrated in my father's lifetime on my father's side. Now my mother's side was here a little bit longer before that, but there's some recent immigration in my family, and my name is a symbol of that. So let's see. MSJ saying, great stream today. And yeah, Mansa Musa was the world's richest. I will say culturalism is far more divisive than racism, religious affiliation being the most powerful of the cultural forms. Yeah, I think that's true. Religion obviously starts wars, and it puts people at odds because it doesn't allow for being open to everyone having their own views in some cases. Some religions are so dogmatic and so anti other religions that they are the cause of a lot of problems. The religions that are all encompassing and that you can be whatever you want, those are the best. But culturalism with religion is bad. But I think culturalism with your identity and your roots and where you come from is so extremely important. And that kind of like wanting everybody to just become Canadian. You're just, when you come here, you got to become Canadian or you got to become American and stop speaking Spanish and stuff like that. That's not good. That's not good because it takes away the diversity in us and the varied life experience that enriches and fortifies and strengthens us as a whole. You want everybody to be sheep and just be Canadian, and you have to form and assimilate to Canadian society and be Canadian. No, we want people to come from India and bring their rich culture from India. We want people to come from places in Europe and have their culture here. We want people from Africa to come here and have their culture here. That kind of culturalism is good because in some ways you want to learn from it. You want to be like, you want to learn, be more worldly with your perspective. Well, don't change them to be like you. You want them to come with who they are, where they come from, and then it'll enrich your experience and maybe even you'll learn something. So I think that's a good distinction to make here with that is culturalism can be good, but in religion, it can be very divisive and combative, and that's not good. But I don't think that countries naturally have to be at war with each other at this point. I mean, seriously, we don't need to be drawing lines because of differences. We need to celebrate the differences and really have fun learning about them. Let's see. Cowboy saying the best song to describe Messiah is DJ Bravo's Champion and Turner's Champion, two great tunes. Champion songs. Yeah, I'm all about the champion songs for him. I'm all about it. Let's see. Wayne saying, if it's Sergio, we all should be happy as Raptor freaks. Current NBA finalists exemplify persistence in roster management, and we're just so darn close. Preparation for games was dismal under Nick Nurse. He was really good at preparing to stop Jokic and the top player on the other teams. But in some ways, I don't feel like he was very good at preparing the players to get up for it. Like, I don't know what kind of pregame speeches he was doing in the back, because I feel like these guys just came out cold and he didn't even talk to them. They just show up and, yeah, go out there and do, guys. Where's the speech for the Gipper? Nick Nurse, where's the thing that really amps them up and gets them ready? Like Michael Malone and Eric Spoelstra, I'm sure they do really good pregame speeches to get their guys going and up for games. Because I really doubt that you were doing that kind of stuff, because so often our guys would come out and look so flat in the beginning of the game, and we're already coming from behind. So, yeah, hopefully we'll have a new coach that's way better at that, getting the Raptors start from the starting line really quickly and being engaged in the game at a high level instead of waking up during the game and having to come back from a deficit already. I'm all about that, Wayne. And I agree. I think that Nick wasn't good at getting us prepared. And it showed in the way we went out of the playoffs the last year, and we didn't win the play-in this year. Mike is saying, exactly, Lex. Back to Raptors basketball is what Masai wants. Back to overachieving through a culture of work and edge. That's right. We find a way. Listen, that's what we are. That's why Masai is so important, because he is that figurehead. He is that drive of like, we're going to make it no matter what. And we're going to find a way. We're problem solvers. And you can put obstacles and barricades in front of us. We will get around them. And we will make ourselves successful no matter what. Fiercely saying, good morning, fam. Tuning in late today. We'll catch up right after. Go Jamaica. Go Jamal. I think that's actually Jamal. I thought this said Jamaica. Go Jamaica. No, go Jamal Murray. Yes, Kitchener's best. Let's go, Jamal. Do it. Trevor's saying Africa is the motherland of all nations. It was the beginning of civilization. This is true. The archaeologists have gone and they found the cradle and the birth of life in the Middle East, like kind of around that fertile area around there. And this is true. This is very, very true, that a lot of people, all of us, kind of stem from the same area in the very beginning, the very, very beginning. Cool Cat saying, I listened to Logical Raptors fanatics clip on Boucher. I get the feeling a lot of our new players felt entitled to be successful instead of having that underdog mentality to prove something. Yes, Cool Cat. That really was revealed in what he was saying. And it makes me wonder about the youngsters like Scotty. Like they're going to have that tough lesson, and maybe they will be different now. We can't just give Scotty everything he wants. He has to have friction and the ability to be like, I need to do better, and get pissed off and do better. I love him saying at the end of the season, he needs to work harder on his conditioning so he can be at a high level on defense. That is a good sign that Scotty understands kind of what Chris is talking about here. So I totally agree. And this may be the biggest difference in our culture, is we lost that underdog fight, no matter what kind of mentality. We got cushy. We got comfortable, too comfortable. Let's go. Name was saying, yes, Trevor. Yes, Trevor. Thanks, bro. The rest of the world don't want us to know that. Yeah. I seriously, some people won't want to believe that's true. People have argued about the race of Jesus, all kinds of different ways. And it really does kind of show that he is probably a person of color. And don't tell white America that. They'll get all crazy. What? Jesus is black? Oh my gosh. What? Jesus was a liberal? What? No, he can't be a liberal. Jesus was woke? No. It's like some crazy people down there like, Jesus was woke, Bob. Oh, that's so good. Name is the same. Bro, racism as a theory is a social construct made of air, nothing tangible. Well, it's something that occurs. Let's just put it that way. There's people that actually hate people just for the color of skin. I don't know how you define that otherwise. That's racism. What do you define? I know it's just a word, and I know we were kind of saying no isms, but I mean, it's a word, it's a term that it is something. I don't know. So I hate it. That's all. You hate the word racism. I hate the word racism too. I think I want to eradicate the world of racism as much as possible if we can. Less racism, the better, for sure. Mike saying, Cool Cat saying, respect. I'm going to expand on how the coaches have a big part in play in the way the players feel pressure, but also confidence in understanding their role and believe that they are prepared to get it. Yeah, Yeah, I love that part in your clip yesterday, Mike. You really did a good job about the role definition stuff and Chris talking about it. That's the thing. You got the bounce of Chris and his what he says in those interviews in his hustle play, and then you interpreting it and kind of elaborating more. It really fleshes it out and allows us to see it. Because in some ways, Chris is not totally clear in the way he speaks. In some ways, he's kind of like his whole analogy about the landlord and like Nick Nurse was very interesting because it kind of really does paint the picture. It's like, well, if you're already thinking about like 10 years is a long time and you got to think about maybe whether you want to be here or not, well, the landlord may say, well, why don't you just fucking move out then? You know, and that was so on point and exactly right. And he's really in that moment pointing out that it was Nick that directed what happened because he opened that door himself. That door was not open. There was no speculation that Nick Nurse would not be our coach. He opened that door himself by saying it that way. And Nick is and Chris is calling him out on it and saying it without having to call him out in a controversial like versus way. He's saying, well, if you say to the landlord, I'm thinking about moving out, and your landlord may be like, well, why don't you just move out then? You know, such a good example and a really safe way to do it without like causing any kind of like weirdness. Chris, really smart, really smart. All right, let's keep going. Cool Cat saying, personal story. My mom is Christian, and my discussion to help her understand genders was to talk about her grandchildren. Does she want folks to hurt or kill her children because of issues? I mean, that's what we got to understand here. You know, listen, do you love the people that are in your life and your family? Well, some of the people in your family may not be totally straight. Some of them may be like LGBTQ in some regard, and you should be like loving towards them no matter what, because they're in your family. You know, some of the biggest bigots may have like a gay sister, but they're like so different towards her, but hateful to all the rest of the people in the world that are gay. It's such a weird situation how some people will pick and choose their bigotry and hate. They'll avoid it on certain specific cases because they're personal. It's very, very interesting. You know, it's always funny to me when you can tell some Republican or right wing person is very like effeminate and they probably are gay and they're so hateful towards gays. You can tell that they absolutely loathe themselves because they're not coming to grips who they actually are. Race Mode saying, have a great day at the cottage, Lex. Take care, freaks. Thanks, Race Mode Daily. Check your WNBA lineups. It's the last day for the second matchup of the season. So get your points in because this is the last day you can make the change in your matchup with who you're playing. Edmund is in the game with let's see where Edmund's doing. Edmund is actually up against Cool Cat, and it's very close, y'all. It looks like it's only a 12-point lead for Cool Cat right now. So Scarborough Sizzle, you might want to set your lineup to be ready for Cool Cat in the last day of this matchup. So we'll see. That's a very close matchup. I've got a good lead on Nako. Tada is leading over Fiercey currently, but there is time today. Philadelphia Floppers, big lead over Tom Duke. And then MK beating Monique's team right now. But tomorrow we go to the third week, the next matchup. So you will start with a clean slate tomorrow. So definitely set your lineup so you can be more competitive. I'm going to win my own whistle, y'all. I'm not trying to lose this WNBA fantasy league. I'm telling y'all right now. All right, let's see. Cool Cat saying, I appreciate PM Justin Trudeau's efforts to make society better. You know, yeah, tear him down. He's not perfect, but at least he's showing some good, sound leadership on trying to reform gun things with here in Canada. So it's good. Fun guy saying, thing is, they don't care about affordable when it pertains to the future. They care about advanced, futuristic housing made to look expensive and progressive. Well, this is the funny thing. I've had this discussion with my dad recently. And it's like all these construction projects are all like speculators. They're people that just want to make a quick buck off of speculation, and they don't actually look at the reality of whether the building will actually be inhabited. And then a lot of times these buildings get built and they get sold to somebody else, and then they just decay and they don't do anything. You're exactly right. They don't think about things, and often they'll cut corners too. And these buildings will be built kind of like on the cheap and low quality also. So it's really a racket. There's certain people that speculate and want to make money off development, but they don't really care about whether that building actually inhabits people in the future. In some ways, it's not connecting or lining up. It's just people wanting to make a quick buck off of a construction project, basically, is what's happening. Cool Cat saying Ontario is being exploited by business, housing, and healthcare. Yeah, yeah, we need to support education and healthcare in Ontario right now because Doug Ford's defunding it and trying to make the case to privatize it all. And he's messed up. He is so bad and evil right now. He is so evil right now. And so, in some ways, we need to support our teachers and our healthcare system to stop him from doing what he's trying to do, privatize it to make money off of us. And it's really bad. And you're right. Ontario's in a bad place right now. That's why we need to make sure we get to vote. You got to vote. If you don't vote, we can't do anything about it. G saying raising property taxes doesn't help affordable housing, plus increasing utility bills, etc. Also, charging developers huge development fees goes back to the buyer. Mostly government and developers win. Exactly. This is totally true. This is totally true. It's totally true. You're exactly right about the racket that's going on here. It's not causing any solutions. That's why we need to get somebody different in charge. Comma Crazy is saying just in general, Toronto sucks. I'm pretty sure Comma Crazy is my uncle. I think you told me that your name was Comma Crazy. You're actually my uncle in Winnipeg, and he hates Toronto. So this would totally make sense if this is my uncle Ward talking right now. I'm pretty sure it's you. I'm trying to remember if that's your handle because I know you were going to watch me, and I know he hates Toronto. In fact, he came to Toronto once since I've lived here with Marlene, my aunt Marlene, and we went to the Nuggets Raptors game. And his favorite team, I don't know, was it the Nuggets we saw? I think it was. It was either the Nuggets or the Nets. No, it was the Nuggets. It was the Nuggets. And his favorite team growing up in Manitoba was the Nuggets because that was the TV team that they saw on TV in Manitoba at that time. So he's probably pretty happy with the finals, with the Nuggets probably going to win the NBA championship this year. So if I don't know if this is my uncle or not, but Toronto sucks kind of makes me think it is. I think it might be my uncle. Tell me if it is my Uncle Ward. Please, if you're not my Uncle Ward, tell me, Comma Crazy. All right, let's see. As above, so below. Warline is saying, dang, late. Laugh out loud. Late morning. All right, good to see you. Either way, W Stream, Fiercey. Leslie saying, no one crosses the street in fear of a white male potentially being a mass shooter. Was it Dylan Brooks that got Burger King? Ooh, yikes. You know what? It's so crazy because the mass shooters, a lot of them are people that are white that look like me. And that's what I'm saying. What I know what Leslie's trying to say here is like, the whole thing about perception of race is what we're talking about. Racism and like perceiving race by seeing skin color is what Leslie is talking about right here. Yeah. And that's a really good example that race does matter because, somebody may like want to, what she's just saying. Info saying, have a great day. Cool Cat saying, fans are overlooking the COVID effect on our team. That's very true. If any team has had more of a hit on them because of the pandemic, it's the Raptors. Obviously, Tampa. Obviously, border restrictions and weird shit afterwards. Cool Cat saying, have a great day. Thank you, Cool Cat. Have a great day to y'all too, Leslie and Cool Cat. Have a great weekend. All the best. Touch grass. Get out there and have a great, fantastic afternoon. And share love. Share the love and don't fear. Mike saying, Nick's biggest weakness is surprise rosters with different formations. He's great at playing against your best possible setup, but if you play weird against what he's prepared, he can be beat. Yeah, that's probably true. That makes a lot of sense, Mike. And then finally, Monique saying, W Stream all around. Keep at it, Legs. Go Raptors. Thank you, Monique. Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching me. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share. I know I was a little political today. It's a very different kind of stream. But my main point for today is freedom, love. These are things that we should value in society that are more important than fear and control. And that's part of what they try to do is control us with fear. So don't buy into that. We are all humans and we are all biologically the same. And as they divide us by trying to say, oh, that you should hate this person because they're trans, or you shouldn't like this person because they're Asian, or this or whatever, the way these things happen is to control us. The more they separate us, the more. So that's why I say share the love, be full of love. Look at everybody as just everybody is the same and equal as it should be, and treat everybody humanistically, whether they are trans, whether they're whatever, it doesn't matter. Every person is a human being, and forget like even like that level. We need to start treating life in general at a basic level, and then maybe we'll have more respect for each other as humans. I really want educational systems to have more gardening classes. I think that if we teach young children how to take care of a plant You say, listen, this is a seedling, but if you don't do the right things to take care of it, it will die. It will really give people more of a chance to understand the fragility of life and how we need to take care of it and really look out for it, because there's littler organisms in this world that die off every day that we could try and protect, and everything's all connected. So we're all life and organisms, and we can be just as weak and in trouble as the ones that are in trouble already. So there's a lot of different heavy things we talked about today. So go with love and don't go with fear, because fear turns into hate. And realize that everybody who's hateful, they're scared people, and that's why they're hateful. Do you want to be a scared person? Do you want to be a coward and hide behind hate? Well, that's your life. Well, don't do it. You can change. Go forward with love and acceptance, and things will get better. Now, people in sports and music, they want to talk politically. That's a right, it's a freedom. And they are good leaders. In fact, some cases are way better than our politicians as leaders. And that's why people like Masai Ujiri should be allowed to speak out on political issues. If it's not your cup of tea, you don't want to cheer for the Raptors anymore, well, you have the freedom to choose not to. And that's perfectly okay also in some ways. All right, y'all. Thanks, guys. W Stream, thank you. Paul B saying, love the political chat. Had to put someone in their place yesterday when questioning if something decorative was pride. There you go, Paul. You do it in your own little ways, in your own little nook and cranny in your life, and it all adds up. You say, oh, what can I do? I'm just one person. Well, if there's one person like you, and you times that by 1,000, times that by 1,000,000, that's real change right there. All right, y'all. Thanks for watching me. Please follow and subscribe. I'm trying to get to 700. I'm real close. And let's go Raptors. I'll have a Monday memory tomorrow. And trivia, we're getting down to the end of the wire for this season of Raptor Freak Tuesday Trivia. Only 2 more games left. This Tuesday and next Tuesday, and then we will crown David Saborin as the champion. So be ready for that. Sheer Khan saying, just smash the like button for the algo before you leave. Thank you, Sheer Khan, and let's go Raptors! Woo! Let's get that coach, Masai. Woo! Yeah!